All right, so we're recording now.
Got it.
So this is our safety workshop, our session
Yes.
from 10 to 2. And if we happen to be able to fly through stuff, we could definitely finish earlier.
Got it.
I have a whole lot of stuff here because we have a Makerspace at maker maker safety course as part of that 4-course certificate we do at Rutgers.
Yeah.
And in that, we did a safety course the first year in there, and it was a 1 credit. And so people did 1 hour a week of work. And throughout the course, we created artifacts each week that could be things that would help be part of our safety plan. And they would all serve as what we consider multiple layers of safety. All right, so we'll get into that idea.
Mhm.
But what I have for you today, if you look in the chat box,
Yeah.
there's an agenda there. And in that agenda, I'm linking this huge shared folder called Makerspace. And within that is the link, is the subfolder for safety. And so both of
Got it.
those folders are linked in the first 2 links there.
Good.
There's, oh, by
Good.
the way, there's a workshop evaluation you fill at the end, and I have to sign
Yeah.
your certificate to give you. Um, and then there's a big PowerPoint link there.
Okay.
And that's something that during that course, we would refer back to that each week and add slides and get into slides. And there's just a lot of stuff in there. So what we want to do is we want to kind of discuss like what you think some things are that you've been wondering about, or that you wanted to accomplish, or that you're really interested in the most. And that'll help me decide which things we're going to focus on live and which things I'll direct you to in the shared folders,
hmm
stuff like that.
That's good.
Um, and so if we want to just take a look at this agenda, whether you got it open.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's take a look. Oh, okay. So then at the other shared drives here. Yeah. So why don't you open up the safety slideshow too, just so you have
Got
that
it.
open. And then the agenda down here, I have safety pedagogy, me kind of bringing up what are the multiple layers of safety
hmm
that you can create. And then within those are some demo lessons. And each one of these is linked because there's a pre-recorded version of them.
Okay. Good.
And they're all videos that were done in front of a 5th grade classroom.
Awesome.
And it was a classroom that I built them, like I built their lab for them, and then they hired me for the first 2 weeks of school to teach, to kind of like run that Makerspace class for the first 2 weeks of school. And in there were these introductory safety lessons. Um, and so 1 or 2 of these we might do together live, but so you know, those are links to those
hmm
videos.
Got it.
Then I have, by the way, up there, number 1 for the agenda, safety pedagogy. That's like a big thing. That's curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And what are the best
Okay.
practices for things that we want to put in our curriculum, how we want to instruct safety, and then how we want to assess it. All right. Um, and then number 3 down there in the agenda, we've got some equipment supplies. So I have, there's things that are talked about in the slideshow, and then
hmm
I have a bunch of Amazon wish lists that correspond to things that are in the labs and in the videos. And the wish lists are down on page 2, or they
Got it.
go into page 2. And
Oh yeah.
I'm not certain that each one of these is like a fully filled up shopping cart,
Got it.
but based on what you say your needs are, I could go back into Amazon and see if I have a list that's not there, that's not fleshed out. Um, the Makerspace tour videos that are bulleted above the
Yeah.
Amazon wish lists, those are 5 different labs that I did over the
mm
past few years, and they're all a little bit different. And so some of them were an old science classroom in like a beat up school in Philly, where we just set up a couple tables along the wall that had a few basic items, and kids got to learn safety and had a makerspace area in the room, like on a cart almost. All the way up to some other labs where there were 2 different rooms, one room with computers and 3D printers and a laser, and then the other room is the one that got dirty.
hmm
And from the bottom to the top, it's the idea of that there's all of these labs are kind of outfitted with like really with basically the same things, and then some of them just had more money to add more stuff. But I have like because I taught shop and
Yeah.
tech ed for 10 years, right? And I had middle school and high school. And then when I left my shop, I started consulting and doing stuff with other school districts. So that's been the last 15 years. And um, in all of these situations and across all the curriculum and everyone, there always seems to be like some simple supplies and tools that we would use again and again and again. And
Mhm.
none of it had to do with band saws or big chop saws or even using screws. We
Mhm.
had drills for drilling holes, but it's not for construction or furniture making. It's to
Yeah.
model and fabricate with some simple supplies. So
Mhm.
there's some supplies in there too that are kind of like germane to most design challenges. And I'm
Mhm.
sure you've had experience with most all the stuff we might mention. Um, but so where my background comes from is I've been using the same approach in all these labs, right? And I'll even let you in a little secret. I've been
Mhm.
deposed twice, which means being brought to court. When I worked at Gateway Middle School, High School, had a
Mhm.
huge shop and had a lot of kids coming in and out of there every day. And we always did a 2-week safety unit at the beginning of the course. Um, but I had the one incident that really caught me off guard was like my second year teaching, and I had a kid who was wrestling with another kid, and he tripped him into a running bandsaw.
Oh,
And I probably should have had a foot switch by the bandsaw because that would have meant that if your foot was off of it, the machine would have stopped. But
yeah.
they weren't like a you're not negligent or something like that for not having the foot switch. But what I found out was that there's always going to be some families in every school district that are kind of looking for some money,
Oh, yeah.
and if somebody were to be walking out to the football field and twist their ankle in a pothole, right,
Yeah.
and break their ankle, you're looking at like 7,000, like pretty much guaranteed you get 5-7 grand from the district,
Yes.
right? And so knowing that that's the case, there's always going to be a few families every now and then that are going to think, oh, here's my opportunity to say something happened. So that's what happened here. My back was turned. I didn't see the kid throw him into it. So what
Yeah.
he said was he was on the bandsaw and that something caught his sleeve and pulled him into it.
Mm.
You know? And so had his safety test on file. Right. I had his test there, and I had that he had taken the test. He didn't get a perfect score. So I had his um, corrections. So you had to
Yeah.
do written corrections till he had a perfect score. I had that on file, and I saved the paper copy and the digital copy. I knew that curriculum was in my. I'm sorry. I knew that safety was in my curriculum because it was
Yeah.
actually a unit, like a whole unit itself in there. And I knew I had done instruction with him, and I had tested him. In fact, I kept a little log of when I did the demo lessons for each machine, and I had it checked off with what students were there, and that
Yeah.
they had actually come up and done what I call guided practice, where I stood there, they cut something, they turned it on and off, they lifted and lowered this, they did that, and then we signed and dated that we did that together.
Yeah.
I also had a parent contract from him. So before the testing even started, during
Yeah.
the couple days of instruction, letter went home to parents and it said, "This isn't an English classroom. Everyone is responsible because things that you do can affect others." And so I had that on file, you know, but I still in my head was not 1,000% sure how this whole safety thing worked and who in terms of liability.
Mm.
So I got deposed, and so the parent tried to say that something wasn't right in the room. And when I got to the court, the judge said, um, I brought some kids down here this morning before you got here. I pulled some kids out of the room and I just asked them, tell me about Mr. Anderson's classroom
Yeah.
and safety. And the kids were like, oh my God, if we do all this safety training for days and days. And then if you don't have your glasses on, he makes you go back out in the hallway and wait there.
Yeah.
And he says, do you guys have any signs around the room? Is there anything? Oh yeah, he's got posters up and there's a wear your glasses thing. But okay. And you guys took tests and stuff? Yeah. The judge never asked to see a copy of a test. All right. What he
Yeah.
was looking for was just to see from the initial questions if I seemed like somebody who was putting structures in place, right, to
Mhm.
to do whatever you would call your due diligence or something, right?
Yes.
And if he had heard things like, I don't know what safety is, there was no test, he lets you do whatever you want,
Yeah.
he leaves the room while we're in there. That's not just that's showing what do they call that? Gross negligence.
Yes.
That's where like you done something that you even knew yourself that would have put kids
Mm.
in complete jeopardy, right? So I calmed down really quickly and realized like what was going on, and he said, all right, you go. I said, do you want to see the test? Do you want to see any of this stuff? He said, no, we know enough. We talked to your school district supervisor, and they said that you do what you're supposed to do. And
Yeah.
I said, okay. And so the kid's lawyer, right, the parent's lawyer, didn't have the grounds to stand on that they were hoping for. They were hoping it
Yeah.
would come up in those questions that like there was a big mistake or that I did something that they could go,
Yeah.
look at this guy. This guy's not doing something that's clear. And so after that is where I talked to the judge, and he said, there's no state law that says here's what you should be teaching for safety is exactly what you have to do.
Yeah.
What they want to know is it in your curriculum? Do you teach it? So
Hmm.
curriculum and instruction. And then is it assessed somehow, right? I'm like, cool. So I got the safety tests. I even have them do the guided practice in front of me, signed and dated.
Yeah.
And I let parents know this was a different environment ahead of time with a contract. Just those initial things are what I consider to be multiple layers. So that if they ever come to you and want to question you, your practice, what
Hmm.
you do, they got to peel back multiple layers before they would be, right? And that's what it's all about.
Yep.
That's what it's all about. So
And this is exactly why I wanted to take this class because, um, you know, I started to just, I mean, our big tool right now is the hot glue gun. And we've been using now for, I'm the only one in the district right now. So it's about 2 or 3 years now. And I'm like, I really don't think it's a big deal, but like, I was thinking about the other day and I'm like, oh my God, I start to expand it to first grade. Like first grade, it's open to you, but it has to be supervised by a teacher. And then you're allowed to try it if you would like. Second grade, they have to do it. You got to do it. But I was like, I feel like I need some things in place so that if someone gets burned, I just feel like I need to cover myself. And then this year we started to introduce alls. So
good for you.
yeah. So I'm like, okay, look, they can just poke the holes in. It's so much easier.
I even have
So
these sitting here for today to talk about. Yeah, it's great.
yeah. And so I'm like, oh my God. And the kids this year are just somewhat, it's just a crazy year. And my thought is like, God forbid if a kid takes this and hurts another kid. I just feel like I need to cover myself as I want to introduce these different tools.
You seem pretty laid back, so I could see that you're probably not the kind of parent who, when your kids were in school, you were worried if there was what was going on with the
No,
hot glue gun. So
no.
you got to imagine like the parents you've dealt with already, and pick the one that it would be the epitome of the scare, one you'd want
Yes,
to, and think about like what would this person want to know if they had to peel back the page to pull the door up and find out like what were my plans here that would make them feel
yeah.
good, you know.
That's what
Um,
I just feel like I need to cover myself. I need that communication with the parents. I need the assessments for the test. I need the kids to sign some, like, I feel like I need to cover myself as
okay,
I want to introduce these and get them further.
well,
So,
before we move forward anymore, let's go right into this agenda here. And underneath multiple layers, I'm gonna put some bullets in here, and then we're gonna make sure you have these things when we leave
yeah,
today, because they're in the shared folders. There are versions of um, first thing will be like a parent teacher safety contract,
yeah,
and so there's versions of them in those shared folders.
good. Okay.
And they're and again, a contract like that is not some legally binding document,
Yeah,
right? But it's just a layer. It's like, no, this was brought up. I
exactly.
went out of my way ahead of time to make people aware, explain it to the student. The parent read this thing. They signed. This isn't the first time anybody's heard about this, that there's
Exactly.
safety, right? So
Hmm.
you can do with that dot with those things in there is you could take them, just put your district in there, change
Yeah.
the wording however you want. And there's versions in Spanish and in English.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
I
right.
just
So
think letting them know, because right now they don't know. The parents do not know that we're using the alls, the hot glue. They are not aware. So, and this is K to 5. So I had their babies. So
yeah.
I just feel like I need to let them know what I'm doing. So I think that just that notification to the parents would be helpful first. Let them know what's going on. And I don't have that in place. So I'm like, oh God.
Well,
I
let's look
got
here.
it.
This is great.
Yeah.
This is going to be it's a very productive session for us
Yes.
then today. All right.
Personalized.
So a parent teacher safety contract, and when you make one of those, you're going to send a form home, right? You probably have to get that
Yes.
approved by admin beforehand.
Yep.
Another form of assessments would be a um, would be guided, would be your lessons, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And I just
Mhm.
call those your demo lessons.
Yeah.
And what we'll see down from these demo lessons, I have like three lessons. One is like personal safety, like what
Okay.
makes your person safe or dangerous. And I'm going to do one of these for you this morning.
Mhm.
I could tell you these 10 points of safety in a slideshow with just 10 bullets, but I tell stories from personal experience
Yeah.
because they're memorable and
Mhm.
because they'll and you could always sub in your own version of a story to
Yeah.
reinforce any of these rules. But we start with that because then anytime you walk back into the room, your sleeves are going up, glasses are on, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Then the next two videos in the demo lessons down there are, let's skip Razor for now, but lab safety part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
That's a group of fifth graders who had never been in this room before. That was their new
Mhm.
makerspace. And so I tour the room. I talk about what's safe and dangerous in the lab itself and what to do in an emergency.
Yeah.
And then I go into in part 2 specific tools and machines, and you'll see there's only a little, like a very small handful of things.
Yeah.
Those have the demo lesson themselves, and that the students were present, you know, for that. And
Yep.
then after the demo lessons, then there's guided practice,
Mhm.
and that's them coming up using something with me just for a minute,
Got it.
30 seconds. And in that guided practice, there's going to be some record signed and dated.
Got it. That I witnessed that they were able to use it.
Yeah, just that that
Mhm.
that instruction occurred there.
Yes. Mhm.
Um, and then when I save their records, whether it's the parent contract, the test, any of this stuff, you're supposed to
Yeah.
save them for 15 years.
Holy crap.
And the reason why is that kid that tried to sue me for the cut on his
Yeah.
arm, when he turned 18, 3 years later, his mother said, "Now you can go sue because it's called tort law or
Oh
something like
my
that." And
God.
one of the things about tort law is that if you were under 18, and then once you turn 18, then you can. So you save those records just in case somebody ever were to
Yeah.
come back or something like that.
Got it. Oh my God. Isn't that crazy?
It is, but it also any parents who are looking for problems or at the school,
Yes.
when they see all these things you're doing ahead of time, it's the people they never hear from. They have no problem calling up cold, going, "Oh, I'm coming after you."
Yes.
But these things will put people at ease and let them know that this is something you take very seriously. That's the message. You can't, when you get this on your syllabus or whatever, your
Yeah.
outline for the market period,
Yeah.
people are saying you take this seriously. You don't get to work unless you've been to these lessons and your parents
Yeah.
return the forms.
Got it.
So then after guided practice, there would be an actual written assessment, right?
Okay.
And sometimes that's one big test. Sometimes I break it in a couple pieces, but
Mm,
it's something that's going to cover the information that's in these safety videos here.
mhm.
Razor blade safety, sure, K to 5, right?
Yes. And
Yeah.
I do have right now, I'm the only one who uses them. But I have been experimenting with what is it, the canaries and oh God, what's the other one?
What's a canary?
The
Like a cricket?
canary knife, it's kind of like for cardboard cutting. It's a little bit duller, but and it's smaller, so it's easier for the kids to grip. And I only let my fifth graders use that. I feel like they're a little bit more in control of it. And then there's the other one. What's that other one?
The pizza wheel.
I don't know if it's a pizza wheel. It's like, oh my God, I can't think of the name. It has a funny name too. And the blade is like hidden up in the piece. And so that one's not bad either. But that one you can't really get into. Like it's only good for like the edges, which is not too
Is it
bad.
a foam core cutter where you put it on the foam core and you slice it down and it cuts a lip off the foam core so that you could build boxes
No,
with?
it's just that the blade is a little bit hidden. I can't think of the name. It comes in all these colors and it has a fancy name for it. I have to look it up. It's going to drive me crazy.
Okay.
But, and we use that too. So, but I only do that with the 5th grade right now. And only if I feel like they're ready. But I was like, oh God. And that's the other thing too. I just feel like I need to cover myself because I'm the only one doing this. So once again, I'm going to put myself out there. This is not a district thing, you know.
But
So,
maybe Christine might want to use what you do as a model.
well, that's true. That's usually what kind of happens is everybody makes me do it first and then they jump on board. Because I'm like, I don't care. We're gonna do it. The only way to find out is to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to take that chance. But and so far they've been good. But I just suddenly this year I was like, I feel like I need to have stuff in place. So I just feel like I'm adding a couple more things that I haven't had before, and I just want to cover myself. But yeah, and I think that would be really good. I think this I like this setup here. And this, I'd feel much better doing that. Now, you said you do about 2 weeks worth for the safety lessons?
That was if I had the kids for the whole year.
Okay, I
It'd
know.
be about a week. It would be about, if I had them for a marking period, this would be about a week,
Okay,
5 days.
got it. So I'm trying to figure out, so that
And you
in
may
my
not,
case,
and you may not, there's a couple things in here you may not introduce to your room, or you may
yeah,
show them, but it may be that you have a station where if they want to use a drill, the hand drill, they come up with you, show you where they want it, and then you drill the
yes,
hole. And then maybe by the end of the marking period, you might have a couple kids where you're letting them hold the drill,
yeah,
that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, I have to, and that's what I have to do next is figure out where this goes in the curriculum. Like, do I do it at the beginning of the year? Or
You
do
could
I
do
do
it
it?
just like if all they're going to be doing is like using a hot glue gun.
Yeah,
Well,
that's easy.
yeah, I guess you'll have to see how much of this will apply,
Yeah,
because you don't
because
want to
right now
spend
I'm
five
just,
weeks. You don't want to spend 5 of your weeks doing safety
no.
1 hours.
Exactly. But right now I'm just using it to introduce the unit, but it's really quick.
Tell me
Like
what the room kind of looks like now. Just give me like a little summary, like what you would even be doing for safety as of now.
yeah. Right now, my room is the smallest room in the entire district. It's
Really?
so tiny. It is really tiny. I don't know if you saw any of the labs over there at the other schools, but they usually show their rooms because they're nice and big. No one ever comes to my room because it's super tiny.
Was it an original
Um,
classroom or something? Like,
it was 2 special ed small group rooms it was actually one room, but they had a divider wall between the 2. And then they just took the divider wall away and it became my room. So it is extremely small, but it is packed. I mean, we are packed with stuff and packed with tables, and it works. I mean, I feel like, when you have limited space, it makes you be more selective. And then I do have a good relationship with my librarian. So she allows me to store a lot of things in her room and her closet and everything like that. So, and she's always like, we should have you over here. You should take this. We have these grand plans that I'll just take another room and break down a wall and all this kind of stuff. But that's never going to happen.
how many
So
years do you have left, do you think?
9
Okay,
years.
it can happen. There, look, there
That's
ain't a lot
true.
of space left. I see all these districts in North Jersey where like they had their population forever, and then somebody pops in 2, condo units. They each hold 300 families, and all of a
Yep.
sudden, boom, they had to get a referendum and expand their
Yes.
facilities.
Yeah.
So that could be happening maybe in the future, referendums. And when they do referendums, they come to you and they go, "Oh, what would you do with like 20 grand?" And then that's when you tell them
Yeah.
what you would do with 100.
Yes. Yep. I got it. I know. It would be, I have no idea. I mean, I'm also at Allen School. Allen's the oldest school in Medford. It was opened in 1920s. So, um, it's a precious school. No one wants to change anything. It's really kind of old and it's cute. It's a really cute school, but it's just all the rooms are tiny. And I mean, I make do. It's fine. But when we do the making part of it, one table, I only have five tables in the room. So that's how tiny it is. Five rooms or five tables, very narrow. I got the narrowest I could get. And one whole table will need to be a station for the hot glue guns, things like that. So a lot of the kids are working on the floor because that's the only other place to work. So that will be the station there. And whenever we start to use the hot glue gun or bring out the awls and things like that, then I make sure another teacher is always there. That somebody's always has to be there, an assistant, someone has to help supervise that. And that is their main goal, is just to watch the supervision of those tools that are out. So that's my safety plan right there. And then otherwise, showing a video on how to work, make sure you unplug it, don't touch the tip, that kind of stuff. How to hold it, that kind of thing. That's pretty much, and it's like a couple minutes before the lesson, and then we get to it. And then that's that. And we always go down, if anybody gets burned, don't go to the nurse. You're going to get burned. It's going to hurt. Run it under cold water. That's all you can do.
Yes,
You
that's what
know?
we tell them. We like to tell them that ahead of time, so that's going to happen.
Yep. Yep.
Have you
So,
seen these?
yes, I saw those and I was wondering does that get in your way?
If you're a little kid, and you're using the glue gun with one hand,
Yeah.
these could be on the other hand. And this way they can simulate, put this on, now put your finger in the hot glue and you'll feel it.
Yes.
It won't burn you.
Got it.
And another thing they could have is you could have Q-tips, like the 7-inch long ones
Yes.
with the metal stick or the wood
Yeah.
stick. And those are nice too, because then they can poke at stuff with the Q-tip.
Yes. Yeah. We use like skewers or something like that, something longer that they can hold it down. But I like those. Do they make them for the little kid hands? Because I
Yep.
thought I saw them and they looked big, but
Yeah. So you can get them for little kids too.
okay.
And they're super cheap. And I think they're just silicone. So you can just put them,
Yeah.
you can wash them at night and soak them in
Yeah.
water. They
And
could
that
even
way, I
probably
mean,
They could even probably be cleaning a safety glasses cabinet. Do you have one of
yeah.
those?
Not a cabinet. We have a box that has the glasses in.
Great.
But yes, yep, I have glasses for everybody. So
All
they
the
all.
cabinet is a reflective with the UV light in there.
Oh, okay. No, no, no. I don't have anything like that. No, we put the glasses on, and they take them off, and then they go in a box.
Nice. That's fun.
So, yes, that's what, when the whole COVID thing was going around and, they're like, don't share anything. I was like, then you basically don't want me to have my class because we're sharing everything because I don't have enough for everybody. So you're all gonna have to get over it. And that's just the way it is. And they did, they were fine. I mean, what are we gonna have to do? I mean, but that's the same thing. I'm like, they're like, what about the lice on the glasses? I'm like, it's all plastic. Lice don't like plastic. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, that's it. I mean, I'll clean them every once in a while when they look a little dirty, but that's about it. So
Cool.
I'm not afraid of dirt, germs.
Me neither. I drink bad milk once every month
Yeah.
just to. All
Yeah,
right.
but
So
yeah, I just, that would be, I could put them out as an option. Like if kids would want to use them, I could put that because we're coming up to budget time too. So I have to put some things in my budget. So maybe I'll put some of those in there. That
yeah,
would at least,
you're gonna try them yourself and see if you think it works well,
yeah,
and then you may decide to come up with a way to use them. But
yeah,
by showing this, right, this is just one more layer I thought of as a teacher.
yes,
compare that to somebody who has X-Acto razors out where the blades have never been changed and they're rusty.
Yeah.
And I don't know how this. I go into classrooms that are like that, and I'm like, "Do you guys teach safety?" No. I'm like, "Where have there been any accidents in here?" Well, not really. It's like, how is this going on like this for so long? And there's not one. There's not even a test. There's not even, you know.
Yeah.
Remember, cost litigation is something where they play games where they in these depositions and with the lawyers at the beginning to find out just what are the how what are the chances they're going to be able to show that you're negligent or
Yes.
grossly negligent, and it costs money to litigate, right? So it's always this dollar and cents issue. So if somebody twisted their ankle and they're definitely got a broken ankle, they got a doctor's note. What are we going to do? You know what I
Yep.
mean? When you have all these layers in place and the injury is very minor, it's really hard for them to show,
Yeah.
yeah, because they would have to spend a bunch of time in court. Um, and I haven't heard of any major cases in a long time in the news either.
No.
Last one I heard was about a guy locking it who didn't lock the door. A kid went in to use the table saw and cut the tip of his finger off
Yeah.
and was able to sue for I don't know. I don't even know if it was 1 million, but it was probably a
Mm.
couple 100,000.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd have to say, I mean, I'm in Medford, and Medford likes to sue. It's
Do
a
they?
town full of lawyers.
Is it really?
Oh, yes.
Is it
So
conservative leaning or is it liberal, whatever you call it?
very conservative,
Very conservative, I assumed.
very conservative. So, and that, I guess it seems a little heated right now. So I said, I just feel like I need to protect myself in that case.
Yeah.
Um, I just can see some of the writing on the wall, and I don't want to be the first one in the paper with being sued like crazy, because they will.
Yeah.
So that's what I was like, I've got to get this in place. I feel like that will be my goal for next year. That's going to be my PDP, is to get safety a priority so that I can
Okay.
avoid all this.
All right. Let's take a look back on the agenda because I started putting some bullet
Yeah.
points under safety pedagogy.
Yep.
So remember when I say pedagogy, I think of the terms curriculum instruction and assessment.
Mhm.
And this taxonomy of language, I just like using it because then when I have to explain something to administrators, they can start
Yeah.
to see this is how I think of things. So my
Hmm.
curriculum has a unit plan outline. So you're going to create a unit
Yep.
that's just day, 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 day. And anything that's in that room where you have people do, it's on that unit plan,
Yes.
right? So um, that is that's my curriculum, right? It's
Hmm.
basically just my lessons, my lesson plans, and me. I mean,
Yeah.
otherwise for curriculum, like you could find other people's videos out there for stuff, and
Hmm.
you could find some other um, um, worksheets and stuff like that to go with some of these lessons and diagrams of individual tools where you label the dot parts of the tool. Like you'll see that stuff in the shared
Yeah.
folder. And plus, since you're local, as you're getting your plan together later or whatever,
Yeah.
just you can run it by me and I can give you feedback
Oh,
or
good. All right.
that you
Good.
don't put a bunch of work into something that needs to do.
Yeah.
All right. So that's basically it for the curriculum.
Yeah.
Instructional things. We have the demo lessons I'm given.
Hmm.
We have any um what else do we have? So there's the demo lesson, then there's
Hmm.
guided practice
Yeah.
where you're coming up and using something. And then I do
Yeah.
these things called another part of my safety instruction are emergency scenarios.
Okay.
And so in the part two safety lab or the part one of the lab safety, I go to some emergency protocols. Like, what do you do if somebody's hurt?
Mm.
And the first thing we're supposed to do is tell the teacher somebody's hurt, not
Yeah.
hide it, because kids will stick their hand in their pocket or whatever. And then
Yep.
the second thing we're supposed to do is hit the red button and turn off all the power in the room.
Mm.
You don't have that set up.
No.
But if you start having a bunch of machines in a room, they want you to have a button where you can hit a button and then all the power goes off except for the lights.
Wow. Okay.
And that's basic shop, like,
Yeah.
industrial arts.
Yeah.
And the only point of that is if somebody's injured, if you could stop all the machines, you don't have to worry about another injury occurring.
Hmm.
And then when somebody goes to restart the power in the room, the machines won't just turn back on and start running. There's like a reset switch.
Got it.
So that's something that when they do lab construction, new lab construction, or they're going to put a bunch of equipment into a room, they'll
Yeah,
say, we have to retrofit the electricity to do this. And they put a power
got it.
button every 15 feet.
Wow.
All right. It's just a big
Yeah.
red button. All right. So we don't, but we don't, we're not there.
No, but in
Um,
my imaginary makeup lab that's going to be expanded, I'll make that note of it to have that in there.
and I like how you said you don't run to the nurse, because the
No,
story is some kid didn't want to see his own blood, so he covered his finger, and the
yeah,
teacher said, have your friend take you to the nurse. And on the walk down, the friend said, let me see your finger. And the kid looked, and at the sight of their own finger got woozy and fell and hit their head and had a head injury. So
oh
we always would want to call the nurse or bring the nurse to the classroom.
yes,
And so let me give you an example, an emergency scenario.
yeah,
I would just go, okay, Joe's on the floor and he's unconscious, and I'm over there on the other side of the room. Kevin, you see Joe on the floor, go.
yeah,
And the kids, because on the safety test, they would write down accurately on the test, tell the teacher, call the nurse, bring the nurse to the classroom.
yeah,
Okay, cool. But in an emergency scenario, I say, do you see Joe down there? What do you do? He goes, I got to call the nurse. I'm like, no, you got to let me know first. Okay, I'll let
yes,
you know. Okay, cool. Now go call the nurse. He goes up to the phone. He doesn't know how to call the nurse.
yeah.
So I tell him, here's the number. He calls the number, and I pretend I'm the nurse. Nurse's office, somebody's hurt. And he hangs up the phone. It's like, you got to tell him where we're at. You got to tell the nurse
Yeah,
where we
yeah,
are. You got to say the room number
yeah,
and stay on the line. And then maybe somebody should stand out in the hallway and be waiting for the nurse.
yeah,
Okay, if there's a couple scenarios like that, right?
yes,
And I like, if I don't do them in the beginning of class once or twice, then when the actual thing happens, your default will be whatever you do when you panic. When you panic,
yes,
you go into default mode.
yep.
It,
That's, again, that's not something I even thought about doing, and I need to do this.
little thing, little
Yep,
thing. Hot glue gun. You just burned your finger,
yep,
and it hurts so bad you think you're going to cry. Okay, what do
yeah,
you do?
yep,
Or you see, yeah, it's just like little, and that puts them on their toes, and it's a fun thing. And now I got one more layer of safety in my
yes,
instruction. I
mm-hmm,
did scenarios.
yes.
Okay, so
I think it's really
emergency
important.
scenarios, and then, um, by
That's
the
what
way,
I,
guided practice is just like, it's like pretending we're in class and this machine
yeah,
is now live. It's on the table. And so how do we do this? So you're going to walk up. Oh, you're the only one in the safe zone.
mm-hmm,
Great. You checked your 10 points of safety. Cool. Now you look over the machine. Do you see anything weird? Nope. Okay, cool. Turn it on. Does everything sound right? Okay, great. Now you can do the basic cut or do this. Okay, great. Now turn it off. Okay, cool. Now that was it. I just walked you through
yeah,
that, what you would do the first time. I'd have
yep,
each kid come up and do that. So for me, guided practice is just a short demonstration of on off
mm-hmm,
basic operations.
got it.
And again, like down to the hot glue gun and the awl,
Yes,
you know, and then we got the emergency scenarios, and now let's look at the assessment part.
mm-hmm,
So for assessment, we got the parent teacher safety contract. Let's get signed and dated. That goes out first. That's like letting people know way in advance. And on
mm-hmm.
back to school night or do you have like a course outline or something like that?
We don't really have to do anything for back to school night, but
How
I
about on your
could.
website? Do you have a website that
Yeah,
says
we
like, this is what
do.
we do in my class?
It's very generalized. It's a district overview of what the Fab Lab is. It's very generalized, but
So I imagine,
I could add stuff.
yeah. So I don't, how about your district curriculum? Is that posted somewhere, right?
Uh, I don't even know
I
if they
think
have
they
it.
have to be somewhere. Something
Yeah,
has to be published, and it could be something that like all 5 schools subscribe to, and they put the same things up there.
yeah.
But
But again, like our district curriculum for Fab Lab is extremely generalized because there really is none. I mean, we make it up as we're
okay,
going along.
okay,
And so it's very generalized. We say that there's 3 units computer science, maker, and engineering. That's the EIE. And we kind of describe them, and that's that. It's
Cool.
very generalized.
All right, so you got, it's great. You're describing what it is that they're doing, and so you're
Yeah,
just going to want to make sure. I'll even put this in here on the bullet. Just make
yeah,
sure that the descriptions include, the major hands-on activities,
yes,
and then you want them to, I want this to mention
mhm,
the safety unit.
got it.
I don't tell parents, hey, I have multiple layers of safety. Look
Mhm,
out. But I
yeah,
say, I say these are the ways that we address safety.
yeah.
And then there's got this nice list of things.
That's, we should have something on there. That's good. I'm gonna add that on there. Yeah, because I know we don't have it. And, I don't know if the other buildings will need it, but I'm definitely gonna need it, so I can add it to mine.
Um, Another part of your curriculum, I'm sorry, in your instruction.
Mhm.
So we've got emergency scenarios. Put something up here like, put this under assessments. Sorry. When a district has a safety plan, the whole district does,
Mhm.
but like you could say like, oh, for the Fab Lab, like you're saying, there's the safety plan would include all these things.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Um, I guess built into your curriculum itself here, we've got the actual like the lab rules
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and expectations,
Yep.
and these things are also posted in the room. So,
Yeah.
and down underneath facilities, let's just bullet out a couple things here.
Mm-hmm.
So we have signage in the room.
Somewhat.
That's all right. We got a whole folder of signs in here that
Yes, I'm
you
gonna,
can
I'm
print
gonna
out.
print it all out and stick it all up. It will be.
Yep. Nice. The signage are like reminders.
Mhm.
Then you also have signage for the posted lab rules posted.
Okay.
Um, Other things you have to have in that room are major things. Is if you have a station somewhere, like you have this hot
Mhm.
glue table, let's say,
Yeah.
or let's say you had um, let's find the hot glue table.
Mhm.
You're going to want to have tape on the floor that markates this is a safe zone.
Yeah. When you said that, I was like, oh, I don't have that either.
Now, a safe zone goes back to the Industrial Arts Code Book for New Jersey.
Okay.
That's what everybody follows. And the Industrial Arts Code Book says that if you're standing in front of a table doing something, you should have a 3 foot by 3 foot area.
Got it.
And so what I would typically do is if I have a line, a bench that kids can walk up to, I go up to the edge where my belly is and I come back 3 feet and I put a line of tape.
Got it.
Now I'm in the safe zone.
Got it.
When you're in the safe zone, you're the only one in the safe zone. You're not
Mhm.
talking to people behind you because you're in the safe zone. Sometimes I'll even go back after my first line of tape. I'll go back another foot and put another line of tape. And I
Yeah.
call that the buffer zone. And I'm like, nobody's in the buffer zone. You can't
Got
be
it.
in my safe zone. Nobody's in the buffer zone. But if you're in a line, you can wait behind the buffer zone.
Got it.
And the buffer's there because anything anybody's doing, if I trip because I didn't tie my shoes, I bump into you, and now you, like dominoes, you bump over, and I bump into
Yeah,
Kelly. And if I got a buffer, nobody who trips is going to trip into me into my safe zone.
got it.
Um, so there's other things to facilitate. These are just like major things that we can mention now that
Yeah,
you
no,
can
that's
get
really
knocked out right
good.
away. And you could do that. They do that with yellow and black tape.
Hmm.
There's just like floor tape that's sticky.
Yeah,
Maintenance usually has that stuff.
all right, that's good. Yeah, I'm trying to visualize my room. I, I think the best if I turn that table, that would give me a better, yeah, I'm just
We
trying
could
to
look at pics and
rearrange.
video of your room too if you have any.
Yeah, let me see if I have anything. Yeah, I'm trying to think of how I'm gonna, but I'll figure it out. It's just, it's tight, but I can make it work. And it's not like all the time. It's only when we're gonna use it, but that's where I'll have it ready to go. So that will work.
A safety glasses cabinet. If not, you got a box for them, right?
Yeah, we
Um,
have those, we have the glasses.
this would be something to be talking about if there's ever money or all the schools want to update is like putting a proper hanging cabinet in your room that has a
Okay.
light in it. Um, eye wash station. Does your room have one?
No, I don't
You don't
have
have to.
any.
It's not a law, but it
Yeah,
says if you have a chemical cabinet in the room, which is, I mean, any of that paint, whatever.
yeah,
If I have one of those, I got an eye wash. Do you have a
yeah.
sink? You have a sink right now?
No, no.
Okay, well that's all right. Um, but imagine you had a procedure for if somebody got glitter in their eye,
Yeah,
right? That would be what I would. That's what I would. So I would
got
have
it.
a procedure like, oh, emergency is glitter in the eye. What do we do?
Hmm.
First thing you do is you want to sit down. Then we're gonna, take you to the water fountain. You're gonna figure
Yeah,
out like how do I get you to the eye an eye wash if there's one in the
yeah,
building or a way to flush it. That'd be something you'd thought about.
yeah. Yeah, because we are really close to the bathroom. So that actually kind of works out. Like literally it's outside the door. So that works. That looks always pretty
They
good.
also sell portable eye washes that are
Yeah.
a big thing full of water that sits up about this high, and the little sink is right here. And that way,
Okay.
when you pull the lever, gravity, just like flushing a toilet, wash
Okay.
down, water shoots up. So
Got
they're
it.
like a couple $100, but I'm just saying that they're out there. And
That might be something.
sometimes the districts will pay for these things because they got to spend money from somewhere, and
Yeah.
they've got this budget, and sometimes some of this money for the ESSER funding
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
go towards
Medford, I
some of
have to
that.
say, Medford is very good about money. That they'll give me anything I want. They're very good. They're very good with that.
When are we going to move to Medford? We're talking about it.
Are you
We're
really?
talking about it. Friends keep moving over there. It's like I'm sick of the power lines in my backyard.
Oh, okay. You have the power lines.
You're
Yeah.
not going to move where you work, though. I could see why you wouldn't want to do that.
No. When we originally were looking, I did look in Medford and I went to go look at the house and it was owned by one of my students. And then the parent was telling me, oh, this kid lives here and that kid lives here. I'm like, oh God, I don't want to do that. I don't want to live where I work. And I'm very glad I don't right now.
That's
I
funny.
don't, Medford is I love the kids. I love the kids a lot. I just feel like it's very conservative for me.
Yeah.
And we do have a lot of teachers though who live here. Not well, no, not a lot, but there's enough. Um, but yeah, it's just a very conservative town. Um, I don't know. I think a lot of people like the land, the space. Um, I don't know. Would I go there? No. I don't,
Yeah.
it's
I
tough.
know. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
We don't need to get into it now, but
Yeah.
um,
Cinnamin's a great town. I think you have a nice mix. I
yeah,
think
I
this
grew
is
up
a nice
here, so
mix.
it's
Yeah.
like it's what I know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's too funny. So you're thinking about moving out there.
yeah, We'll talk about this later though, about,
Yeah.
I want to burn, I want to have like
Now
big
you're like,
fires in my backyard, and I don't want people telling me what to do. So I don't know. All right,
well, yeah, I'll tell you,
let's get
they
back
will
to
tell
this.
you what to do.
We could talk about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Um, so in my facilities here, I've got the, I said, I watched something to think about, scrap boxes, places where I put scrap, like
Yes, I
when
do
we're
have
working
that.
at, um, you have storage somewhere. I know that you do, and you know that in a classroom, you're not supposed to store anything 2 feet within that space. So if you have a cabinet and then the ceiling's up here, from the
Yeah,
ceiling down, you're not, for 2 feet, you're not supposed to have anything.
yeah, I totally do.
It,
Yeah. And they always let me know when the fire people come in because I do have an electrical box in there that I'm supposed to not surround, but it's totally prime real estate. So I totally do. And then they tell me when the fire people are coming, and then I move it, and then we move it back when they're gone.
Perfect, because yeah, you're not supposed to have any extension cords.
Yeah,
You're not supposed to have any power strips.
I don't really. I do have, it used to be a former computer lab. So I do have wall to wall like power outlets. So
That's
that's,
perfect. That's
yes,
perfect. And when they do a red button, what they do is they'll just take that whole strip and put a button on it so that it
got it.
has its own shut off.
Yeah. So that works
Um,
out really good.
okay. And air quality is not something that you have to think about in your room. But
Yeah.
did you ever use a hot wire styrofoam cutter?
No.
It's really fun. I don't see it. You'd have to play with one. We'll show
Yeah.
you later
I
today.
think I've seen it and I thought about it, but I usually don't deal with styrofoam at all. It's mostly just cardboard. It's total cardboard. It's all, that's all over. We did styrofoam once, but it was like it got everywhere. And it was the janitors and the
The white
custodians.
kind,
Yes,
like,
they wanted to
okay,
kill me.
not the pink or the blue sheets of foam that they sell in like Lowe's and Home Depot.
No, no. It was like pure on cheap styrofoam. And I was
Okay.
like, oh no, we can't do this again because it was everywhere.
Um, so let's see. Just want to make sure I'm thinking of everything. We want to make sure we get you what you have by the end of the day.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I know you're active on Twitter. If you look
I'm
at my,
not really.
no, I always see you
No.
on there.
You sure?
I think it's yours. I don't know. I could have sworn it was you. Maybe it's
Unless my
not.
Instagrams are posting to Twitter or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't. Well, do you have, then you're on Twitter then. I think maybe I've seen you on there.
NJI STEM is my name.
Yes, I think so. But
Go
if
ahead,
you look
send me
on
yours.
mine, you'll see a picture of my lab and you'll just see how
What's
small
your
it is
name?
and what I'm dealing with. Um, it's under, it's M Schoenberger. So it's just M, and then Schoenberger there. And then you'll see my header is my room. And that's a panoramic. So it is, it is super tiny. And
Nice.
yeah. So that's the setup. And it's, I have those pegboards on the window because my windows are shot. And so that covers up.
Pegboards are covering the window.
Yep. And they're hanging on the window so we can still open the windows. So I made it so that we can still get out if we ever needed to, but they're just literally hanging on the wood windows. And so I start to hang some of the things on there because I need that space. But that always worries me. There's 3 tables right there, right next to it. So I don't put out like the razors or, any of that kind of stuff. But I have
Yeah.
buckets of the hot glue gun and the glue sticks. They hang on the pegboards now because I needed a spot to put them. But yeah, so I don't try not to have all the tools out. I bring them out when we need it,
Right.
just because, they make me nervous.
Do you, do you have, it looks like you still have space for storage along that wall on the left.
Yes, that's my back wall and that's pretty much packed. So that's everything there. That's the stuff, everything is on the top. And then I just got a whole new set of hummingbird robotics. So a bunch of those kits are now sitting on the top because I haven't figured out where the heck they're gonna go. So,
Okay.
there's a whole bunch of stuff. This
I like
summer is,
I
yeah,
like
clean
your
up and
trash
organize.
can. I like your trash can on wheels.
Oh, yes. Yep, that's an absolute must.
Have you ever seen a trash can caddy?
No.
It's like a bib that goes, it's stretchy, and it goes, you open it up and you slide it around the trash can, then it tightens itself back around. It's got these pockets all around it.
Oh, cool.
So you put that around the trash can, then you could stick cleaning in there and a brush in there and this and that. It's like what janitor, the maintenance
That's
people
a
have.
great idea. Oh, I know what you're talking about then. Yes. That's a great idea.
As I'm looking, I'm just thinking of a couple things in your room here.
Yeah. So I do have
Um,
a dust pans for the kids to clean. They are responsible for cleaning.
mhm.
Um, so we have cleanup set down. I mean, we are I am very anal about cleaning, so that has to get cleaned.
Yes,
So,
20 kids in the room. Everybody cleans for 1 minute. That's 20 minutes
yep,
it would take me by myself.
exactly.
I
And they
used to.
love to clean.
They love to clean.
Yep. I
They,
have brooms. Oh my God, they fight over the
they
brooms.
fight over the brooms.
They fight over who gets to use the broom, who gets to use the dustpans. Oh my God. It's like like I wish I had this problem at home.
Do you do you have any vacuum cleaners?
I don't. And I don't normally, they just really use the brooms to sweep it up.
Mm-hmm. And on the tabletops, I see do you have some tape wrapped around the edges, or is that just the color of them?
That's just the color. So they're color coded in that sense there.
There's these little bench vices.
Yeah.
You ever seen these?
No.
The table, this clamps to your table,
Okay.
so it's portable,
Yeah.
And then up here I have the vise. You can
Yes.
open and close this.
Yep.
So if I have kids using like even the hand power drill, you crank the little
Yeah.
hand crank drill, or if they have a junior hacksaw and they're gonna cut
Yeah.
something, everything has to be in one of these
Uh,
before I could cut something.
got it.
That way I'm not holding it on my hand in my lap. It's not just
Yeah.
sitting on the table where the drill could start to spin the material.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
when I put a bench vise on the table, it's gonna scratch the table up, whatever. There's thin brown sheeting at Home Depot that's like a eighth of an inch thick. You know how skateboard ramps have like the
Yeah.
brown stuff on the side? It's called masonite.
Okay.
And you can buy a 4 foot by 8 foot sheet of it for like $12.
Okay.
And then what I would do is I would cut those sheets up to be the size of the tabletop,
Okay.
and I would like Velcro them on or something, sticky back
Mm,
Velcro.
yeah.
And then halfway through the year, I'd flip the sheet upside down,
Got it.
and then they may last me 2 years.
Yeah.
I may it just lets me keep the life of the table
Yeah.
longer.
Yeah. I've been noticing, I mean, especially sometimes, we when they have to make cuts and things like that, they have to put the cardboard on the table. Like we have scraps of cardboard, they just lay them on the table. But I can see even, I mean, we've got cut marks and all this kind of stuff in there. So something a little bit more permanent might be better, at least for the year.
I like that you don't have chairs with wheels. I like that you have plain chairs.
Yeah.
And have you ever seen on Amazon, they sell these shelves on wheels. It's like 4 or 5 wireframe shelves. So it's like 4 metal poles, and the shelves slide on. You put the little plastic clips on the pole, and then
I
they
think I've
lock in.
seen that. Yeah.
And you get big ones. You get them where they're 4 feet wide,
Yeah.
2 feet deep, and 8.5 feet tall, with
Okay.
5 big wireframe shelves.
Yeah.
And it's on wheels. So it's cool as I could wheel this thing away from the wall. I can bring out for a project.
Yeah.
That could be for 1 grade level storage. And the rule is in New Jersey, if you have big tall cabinets, anything over 3 feet needs to be anchored to the wall.
Yes.
All they
Yep.
need is one little bracket, just one little L
Yep.
bracket. They zip. So I've had these big carts where they back up against the wall, and I've got 2 little clips that can clamp onto the cart.
Got it.
So the
That
cart
would be
could never be
better.
grabbed and tipped over. I mean, it's never gonna
Yeah.
happen, but that's how I try to make space use out of that space, right? Where you have more height to go against the wall.
Yeah.
There's nothing, but also you want to be able to always move things around, rearrange your room.
Yes. The only other spot that I have that I'm working on right now is under the TV. Right now, there's another table under the TV, and that's usually where I hold all my stuff. Um, and
Is that
my
the
thing
supply
is,
table?
yeah. And so in my head, that table is going to be moved. What you don't see is the wall that I'm taking the photo from is kind of recessed back, and it's our green screen. So I'm thinking though of moving that table in the green screen area. In my mind, that will be our future 3D printer area. And then under the TV, I do need another table. But first grade, I do this project where they build a city. So it's as big as that rug. It's gigantic. And I
Mm,
usually take a whole bunch of those privacy folders, tape them all together. We paint it, looks like a road, and then they build all the buildings and we attach them to the thing. It's really cool. But I need something more permanent. So my father and I are working on a table that will go underneath that TV that will fold out to make the city. So I only need it like usually at the end of the year, and then we'll fold it back up and I can use it for the rest of the year as
like
it
a,
is.
it's like a Murphy city. It's like
Yep,
a Murphy bed, but a Murphy city.
exactly.
Good
So
for
we'll just
you. What
fold
a great
out.
idea.
Yeah, because I was like, at first we were gonna leave it on the floor, but then I was saying, I was like, I need a table. And I'm like, we'll make it so that it's not too tall for first grade, but enough that they'll be able to see. And I said, we actually could probably get more use out of it if I do it this way. I have, some ideas in there. This year they're doing circuits. So they're adding lights. So now their buildings have to have a feature that lights up.
Okay, cool.
So, and then we have it set up by 6x6. They use Beebots for coding. So then the Beebot will go to Target, program it to go to Target, to program it to go to, depends on what they build. One kid's go to the stadium, go to the stadium, see the Eagles play, so they have to program the Beebot to get to that place in the city.
Right.
Yeah, it's really
Okay,
cute.
cool.
That's our maker unit for first. So everybody picks a building. They have to build the building, light it up, add it to our city. So all of first grade does it. And it's really, really cool.
Sweet.
Yeah, I love that one. That's like one of
That's
my
great.
favorite ones.
Nice. Well, I'm glad I got the picture, the layout of the room here. This has
Yeah,
been.
it's just very tight. I mean, it is what it is. I have to work with it, but again, like it just makes you have to like make everything multi-purpose. So when we were designing this table, I was like, I have to be able to store it away, but I was like, what if it was not stored away? What if it's an actual table?
That's awesome. Good for
Yeah.
you.
So, we need that. That's getting finished up over spring break, but
Okay.
yeah, it just everything has to have a multi-purpose everything. It's like crazy. Without taking up too much real estate in the space where the kids are. So it's everything lined up around the walls.
Okay.
But I see that I can still do a safety zone. I can usually take those 3 tables against the wall, flatten them against the wall, and then I can make the safety zone around those tables when they line up end to end. And I think I can do it that way. That would be fine. So I think I can do that. And then I'll put permanent tape down there so that it will always just be there when I go to flip the table. So I think that would work. And then signage, I can definitely put above the windows. I have a spot for that, or above the TV. I got space above there. So I definitely think I can make a lot of this work, get that more prominent so I don't have any issues there. So we'll have to see there. But
Do
I
you know,
think I can totally see it.
you ever use spray mount?
No, what's that?
It's like a spray adhesive. It's like rubber cement in a
Oh,
can.
yes. Okay.
You spray the back of something, it turns it into a sticky note.
Yes.
Peel it
Mhm.
on and off.
Yeah.
Um, if maybe when you make a bunch of signs and laminate them, you spray them with that,
Yes.
and then you can, if you don't like where they're at, you can move them around that week till you
Got
get
it.
them.
Yeah.
All right, let's do
Yeah.
this. So I think we've had a great discussion figuring
Yeah.
out what you want to get, what you need,
This is
and you kind of
exactly what
already
I need.
know. You kind of already have picked up some really good information already to take back with
Yeah.
you.
Total.
Let's take a
Yep.
break
Yep.
and let's see. Like, would you want to not take a break and go until 1:30? Or I'm sorry,
What do you
not
want to
take
do?
a break.
Yeah,
I don't want to cut you short to like we don't need the 4 hours because it's just
yeah,
me and you. We're flying.
yeah,
But I also want you also are entitled to the 4 hours to get as much
yeah.
as you want to get out of this. So
Now this is already, this is like all the good stuff that I absolutely needed.
all right, let's take a break for 15
Yes,
minutes. We'll
got
come
it,
back around 11:31.
got it.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into um, we'll watch my video
Yep,
of the 10 points of personal safety.
got it.
And then we'll talk about that a little bit. And then we'll look at the lab safety part 1 and part 2 instructional videos. And then we'll look at the assessments that go with them, what's in the folders.
Perfect.
And then before we leave today, we'll go look at the safety contracts, the tests, and a safety rationale, which is a
Yeah,
document where I write about how the standards have changed. And so since standards are changing, curriculum's changing. And so we have to have a space like this in order to meet
yeah,
standards. That's what the document says.
okay,
Um,
that sounds good.
and then we'll just kind of go through the folders so that you got a lay of the land of what you can look for on your own.
Yeah,
All right. And then
perfect.
maybe you even take, if we have remaining time, an extra half hour, I would let you go earlier. I could stay here where you could work on something you want to create, and I'm here
Yeah,
for you if you want to ask me
got
questions.
it.
Okay.
Perfect. Sounds
All right.
good.
All right,
Okay, I'll see you
Maureen.
in a little bit.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Experiences I've had with safety or that other people have had where there have been accidents in the past so that we can learn from them and we know how to conduct ourselves when we're in here during the project parts of the lab. All right? How about you draw a person on that piece of paper for me? It could be a stick figure. It could be anything you like, but you have 30 seconds.
The kids are like, hurry up.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Love the kid in the white shirt checking out the, oh, here comes the kid with the black shirt, checking out everybody else's pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Or they erase like crazy
Yeah,
because they want to be perfect.
yeah,
So before we begin, I'll just let you know what your homework assignment will be for tonight. It will be to go home and on a blank sheet of paper, try to remember, without looking at any notes, try to remember what the 10 points of personal safety are that we're going to be going over during this lesson. Everybody got that? So for homework, you're going to be trying your best to remember, without looking at your notes, the 10 points of personal safety. When we go through the different points, we're going to go in an order from head to toe, because that way it might make it easier for you to recall that later and remember where each of these items takes place. All right? So I'm going to start off with a story about one of my professors that I had when I was in college. His name was Dr. Rockel. Dr. Rockel was about 6'3", 88 years old. He had a white-gray ponytail that came down to here.
uh-oh.
He had a really high voice like this, and he told the craziest stories all the time. He was our favorite professor, and I had him for a class called biotechnology. And one day, Dr. Rockel was really, really late. And if a college professor is late to class for more than 10 or 15 minutes, students will often say, okay, well, maybe they're not coming in, so they'll get up and leave. Well, Dr. Rockel was over half an hour late, but nobody wanted to get up and leave because they loved his stories. Anyway, when Dr. Rockel finally showed up to the room, he burst in the door, and he had these huge black sunglasses on. It was really strange because he never wore sunglasses. And he came in, hey, everybody, I'm sorry I'm late. Take out your notes. We're going to get started now. And he came over to me, and he said, hey, Chris, can you do me a really big favor? I said, yeah, what do you need? He said, I need you to go out to my truck and find my eyeball. And he pulled the glasses down, and he had one regular eyeball, but the other one was missing. When he winked, it went like this.
Oh, God.
What did you see that?
It was really strange. I don't really remember exactly what it looked like. I just remember how freaked out I was because we didn't know that he had had a fake eye or a prosthetic eye.
Did he scream?
No, in fact, he lost it when he was only 9 years old. But in any event, I went out looking for Dr. Rockel's eye. I went out to his truck. I opened up the truck door. And I finally sifted through all these papers and trash. And I come out with this prosthetic eyeball. Has anyone ever seen one before?
No.
It kind of looks like half of a ping pong ball. And they're made of glass. And they're really expensive because an artist has to blow the glass to make sure that it matches your other eye. Right? In any event, Dr. Rockel was still standing there teaching the class when I came back in with the eyeball. And I didn't want to like embarrass him or anything, so I tried to be really nonchalant about the whole deal. And I just kind of pointed to the bag and said, Dr. Rockel, I have your eyeball in here. And he goes, oh, everybody, Chris found my eye. Do you want to see me put it back in?
Yeah.
And everybody was like, no, 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 please don't, please don't. Well, he takes the thing out of the bag. It had some dirt on it. He spits on it, wipes it off in the lapel of his suit, pulls back that winker, and pops it back in place.
Oh, God.
But the problem was that the winker got caught behind the prosthetic eyeball.
Oh,
So
no.
it was one eye was just sticking out like this.
Ew.
Everybody's making noises just like that, Matt. And so he said, what's wrong? Is it not straight yet? And he grabs the eyeball again. And he starts pushing it left to right. Turns out, when Dr. Rockel was just 9 years old, he was working in a lab like this, but with even bigger machines. And somebody was working on something on one side of the room, and a piece of material shot across the other side of the room and cut his eye. And instead of going to a medical doctor, Dr. Rockel went out into the woods and picked all these different herbs and tried to make a paste that would help the eyeball heal. It ended up becoming infected, and he ended up losing his eye. And every time this story comes up, he tells us to make sure that students who are young and start to work in labs like this know how important it is to always pick a pair of safety glasses up as soon as you walk into the lab and put them on and never take them off during lab. Right now is a lesson. It's a little different. So why don't you point to the face on this person and make the first point, which will be always wear safety glasses. Ethan. Okay, next point. Did you ever see a cartoon where there's like somebody carrying a really long ladder, like a really long ladder, and they're going like this, and their friend calls their name, and they go, what'd you say? And they swing around like this, and the ladder goes, woof, and the person doesn't see it coming, right? There's a certain type of vision that we all have. It's the kind of vision that like I can tell there's somebody sitting there with a blue shirt on, even though I'm not looking at them. I couldn't read the shirt if there was something written on it, but I can tell. There's a certain vision that like lets me know what's happening out here on the sides. Do you know, Zach?
Out of your eye?
Out of the corner of your eye is the way people say it. There's a medical term for it too, like a scientific term. Do you know, Daniel?
Reflexes?
No. It begins with a P. Matt.
In hockey, we always do that too. And my coach said it's called I think it's called plasma vision.
Very close. Peripheral vision. I'm not sure how you spell it, but I know the word is peripheral vision. If you have a hat on your head, like with the brim out in the front, you kind of block off your peripheral vision on each side. And even though people aren't walking around the room with giant ladders, a hot glue gun can be pretty dangerous, especially if somebody's got a hot glue gun in one hand here, and they just turn around real quick and the other person isn't looking, and maybe it bumps into their right next to them. You could get burned with the tip of the hot glue gun. So eye protection is super important, and so will be rule number 2, no hats. No hats.
Never thought about that.
Just the peripheral vision part, though, you know.
Yeah.
All right, working our way down from head to toe. We're going to get to the third story.
Even the hoods.
And it was about when I was 17 years old. It was my first year in college.
Exactly, even with the hoods.
Yeah.
I now when I give this lesson, I also preface it with, this isn't just for the lab in here. This is just rules. These are 10 rules you would follow if you're ballroom dancing, if
Yeah.
you're jet skiing on a lake, if you're fishing on a boat. Like
Mhm.
anytime you're interacting with the physical world around you, by doing these things in advance, you limit the possibilities
Yeah,
for injury.
it's
You know,
good.
it's about, again, remember, like, structures you put in place
Yeah.
ahead of time to prevent accidents. All right, let me play.
And there was a big lab like twice the size of this with all these different big machines, and there was another friend of mine in class, and his name was John, and John had the most beautiful long blonde hair that went like down to here, and he was so proud of it that he was always going like this with it. And one day he was standing in front of the drill press drilling holes, and that's that machine there on the end with the blue vise sitting on its table and the red crank on the side. Only it was a much larger one, and he was standing in front of it, and somebody called his name and said, "Hey, John," and he shouldn't be talking to anybody while he's on a machine. That's one of the rules, right? And he says, "What?" and does a hair flip as he turns to say hello to the person. And I don't know if this ever happened to you. Did you ever ride your bike right after you got your training wheels off, and you're pedaling real fast and everything's going fine, and then all of a sudden you feel like something's caught, and you just come to a complete stop, lock up, and fall over? Has it happened to you?
Yeah.
What is it?
My leg. Oh.
Is it your shoelaces? Your shoelaces or your pants get caught in the crank? Yeah, fast spinny things, like the end of that drill press, don't go well with long stringy things, right? It ended up starting to pull him toward the machine, and he screamed really loud and grabbed it and pushed himself away from it and actually ripped a bunch of his hair out. I'm not sure why he didn't. I guess because he was panicking, but he could have just tried to turn it off with that red, yellow button right in the front. In any event, when we work with even the hand drill, long hair being out can be dangerous. It can block your vision as well. It can get dipped into hot glue that's on the table when you're bending over or something. So the third rule will be tie back long hair.
I never thought about that either.
Yeah, I burnt my short hair recently on my hot wire cutter.
Yeah.
I leaned over to pick something up off the ground, and my hair hit the hot wire, and it started cooking it.
Yeah. I mean, I know I had that with the little girls,
Question?
you know, and they bend over and they have all this hair going into the
sorry?
hot glue.
Exactly.
Yes, he was hurt. Big chunk of it over here,
Is he bald?
just in that one spot.
Is he bald? Did you cut it off after?
But then I think he lost all of his hair anyway once he got to be about 35, so it was unnoticeable. All right, working our way down from head to toe. We get down to the neck area, right? And
It was actually disgusting. I saw the kid get scalped. The chunk of his
Oh,
head,
God.
a piece of his scalp was still
Ew.
attached to the drill bit spinning.
Ew.
I know, it was a riot.
Oh
And
my
here's
God.
why it was a riot. The machine has an on-off button right in front of your face on a drill
Oh
press.
my God.
It's like right there, right? But he panicked and just
Yeah.
grabbed the machine and ripped the bolts right out of the ground
Oh my
instead of just hitting the off button. And
God.
that's
Oh my God.
another example of, like, you by default you'll default to whatever your body wants to do. And if you haven't
Exactly.
trained your body to go through the motions of something a couple times, it won't do that naturally.
Wow.
I'm looking around here to see if anybody would have anything that they would need to take care of if we were in fact in lab. Same thing with like shoelaces being caught around the bike crank. Having anything hanging from your neck can be dangerous. It can get caught on something, it can get pulled into something. If you're leaning over to do something, it could fall down into the paint or the hot glue you're using. We're not in lab right now, this is a lesson, but anything hanging from the neck would have to be removed. So we're just going to put the rule as nothing hanging from the neck area. Nothing hanging from the neck area.
Yeah, in some of my classes, they come in from outside. And especially in the winter, you know, you have the scarves.
So you can have them practicing the 10 points when they come in, even though you haven't even really started the rest of your
Yeah.
safety
If you
If you ever
instruction.
look
If you do this
closely at
first.
many police officers, if they have a tie on, it won't be a real tie, it would be a clip-on. That way, if somebody couldn't grab that thing, it would just pull right off. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right, working our way down. We're going to look around the sleeve area here, and this is, I don't have a special story for this one, but I can tell you that many times when I forgot to pay attention to this rule, I've ruined some really nice work shirts that I really liked. If you don't have your sleeves rolled up, you might get the end of your sleeve dipped in anything that's on the table. It could interact or interfere with a tool that we might be using at that time. So in general, we walk in during lab, roll up any long sleeves. We're doing great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. When it comes to jewelry in the lab, we just mentioned that if you had like really excessive blingage of some kind, that would have to be put away. But bracelets, watches, earrings, of course, all these things are fine as long as none of them are dangling from the body. But rings around the fingers is something that we do have to pay attention to. If you have a ring on your finger, and let's say you're walking by the corner of one of these tables that's sticking out, and your ring catches on the corner, and it doesn't pull off, it just pulls the finger, you could dislocate your finger. I've seen people that were near a doorway and the door shut and their hand was out and it smushed the ring and started to cut off the circulation to their finger. That can be a little bit scary for somebody. And beyond that, when you do start working with bigger tools and machines, as you get into more complicated challenges over the next few years, rings are dangerous because they can get caught inside of things, right?
I just want to explain this a little better
Yeah.
here. You know how a hacksaw or a pipe cutting saw has that
Yeah.
straight blade that you replace that's got really fine teeth, so
Yeah.
fine they barely look like teeth.
Mm-hmm.
So those really small teeth are for cutting through metal.
Yeah.
And when you want to cut through wood, the blades have much bigger, more jagged teeth. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is not going to apply to a fifth grader, but if
Yeah.
you're on a machine like a chop saw or bandsaw or something like that with a spinning moving blade, and it's a blade for cutting through wood that has actual like jagged teeth,
Yeah.
that's not going to cut through a ring. It
Mm-hmm.
would cut through your finger like butter, but not
Yeah.
your ring. And so it would catch the ring and could pull your finger or hand into the machine.
Yeah.
And so you're better off getting a quick slice by a blade than you are getting a piece of metal, a ring caught
Yeah.
in the blade. So that's the point I'm making
Yeah.
here, and then I'll tell the story.
Has anyone ever had a ring on and got it caught on anything? Just in your daily life? Yeah? Was it bad? Gotcha. All right, no rings. No rings. This story sounds kind of funny now, but at the time,
Oh, by the way, Maureen, if you need to stop
Yeah.
for any reason or take a phone call, or just tell me. And
Oh, no, I'm good. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
it was rather scary. It was my first year teaching, and I had a student named John, and John had this big baggy sweatshirt he loved to wear almost every single day, and it had a big logo on it that said Johnny Blaze. Okay? And I would always give him a hard time and make him take it off every time he came into the lab, because you're not supposed to have any big baggy shirts. This isn't baggy, but if you had like an unbuttoned shirt and pieces could move out in the air as you're walking around, nothing should be dangling from your body like that. Mm-hmm. So at the time, we were in a classroom that was like a metal shop, and we would fabricate things with metal. And maybe you've seen in person or on a TV show before when people are cutting through metal pipes and there's sparks flying all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. And the student was also stripping paint off of another project right next to a student who was doing some cutting. And some of the paint stripper, which is like really flammable stuff, if you even put a flame near the vapors, it can light on fire. It had spilled onto the table, and he didn't notice it, and his shirt was dipped into that spill. Has anybody ever seen what happens when you take a paper towel and you dip the corner of it into water and it starts to travel up the paper towel?
Yeah.
It's called wicking. Wicking. It's how Under Armour works, actually. It wicks moisture away from your body. But the real term for that in our bodies is capillary action. In any event, capillary action, wicking, whatever you want to call it, his sweatshirt sucked up all of this flammable substance. And then within minutes, he was working somewhere where he was cutting and there were these sparks, and his shirt went up in flames.
Wow.
Did you stop, drop, and roll?
Stop, drop, and roll.
Actually, I don't know where he was in kindergarten when they learned stop, drop, and roll, but he did scream, yell, and run in a circle, which was no good. But in any event, when he had caught on fire like that, it was pretty ironic if you think about the name of his sweatshirt, Johnny Blaze.
Yeah.
Kind of like if a fire truck catches on fire. Irony, right? So he's running around in a circle. He's screaming. As all this is going down in the time of like a half a second. And luckily, a girl that was sitting near him remembered our lesson about lab safety, which you'll do later. She pulled the emergency fire blanket from off the wall. It's just a regular blanket, but it's soaked in a certain chemical that keeps it fire retardant. And she wrapped him up in it. And when they got the flames out, the shirt wasn't even messed up because it was the volatile chemical that was burning. And that has to burn off before it'll start to catch the shirt on fire. All that went down so quick. He was very lucky. I was very lucky. Everybody was very lucky that day.
So we still have that sweatshirt?
I don't know. This was like 14 years ago.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Let's put another rule. No baggy shirts. Or you could just say top shirts, whatever you'd like to call it.
That's gonna be hard for my little guys. Everything is baggy on
And
them.
by the way, if you want to practice writing in all capital letters, we'll be doing that anyway for the sketching and drawing lessons. I know somebody was asking me about it yesterday, why I don't use lowercase, because it gets really sloppy. All right, working our way down. We have 2 or 3 more. We get to the feet area. Back to the whole idea of riding the bike, right? If you have shoelaces that are untied, that's going to be dangerous. But in a lab, it's dangerous too because you could step on one of the shoelaces and trip. And that trip could be just enough to knock you into somebody who's in a safe zone with 3 feet of area around them with nobody in it. They're minding their business, and then somebody trips into them, and then they bump into the machine that they're working on. Like dominoes, right? Tie your shoes. We're doing wonderful. You're going to remember these pretty easily, I think.
He told us.
And when you do your homework assignment, you don't have to cheat or look at anything. You really should test yourself. It's good to try to commit things to memory. All right. Last one down by the feet. One day in my old classroom, it had just become really nice and sunny outside. It was spring. We opened the big, huge back door that was in the back of the lab. It was so big, it was like one of those bay doors that a big tractor trailer could back up to make deliveries. And a lot of students that day had worn shorts to school, and girls were wearing their sundresses, and they were sitting by the back door talking right at the end of the period, toward the end of cleanup. When cleanup is called, all work has to stop. No
Yep.
matter what you're doing. That's why I'm watching some of you when I say caps on the markers and people keep working. That makes me wonder, would you still keep working during cleanup time? Well, this one student was still working. He had a mallet that was 5 times the size of this, and he was banging away at something over here on the table, all the way across the room, and out of nowhere, it slides out of his hand. The mallet goes across the room. These girls were standing over here by the door, and wha-poof, on her foot. You know, not the little toe on the end, but the one right next to it? Nail, pop right off.
Oh.
She picks it up. What am I gonna do? I'm sorry, it's gonna look really funny for probably the next 9 months. Has anybody here ever had a nail fall off?
Yep.
Or get like a big bruise underneath the
From
the
a
nail?
horse.
And when it finally falls off, it looks real funky as it grows back for months. Yeah. What could she have done to have avoided that injury? Ethan. She could have been paying attention, but she shouldn't have had to be paying attention to the whole room because it was cleanup time. Nobody should be working. But what do you think down here, Ethan?
Oh, wear protective shoes.
Yes, no open-toed shoes or sandals. We'll say it like that. No open-toed shoes or sandals.
Can you go work, please?
Sure. All right. The 10th rule. The 10th rule. Also, early in my career, I had a student. This student's name was John. He was really big, super nice guy. Every single day he came into the lab, it didn't matter what was going on in his world, he'd always walk into class like this. How's it going? How's it going? So I definitely knew something was wrong when he walked into the room one day, looking at me like this. And I said, John, are you okay? And he says, I'm fine. And I said, what happened? What's going on? Nothing. I just want to get to work. And I said, okay. And he went to work over on this machine called a bandsaw. And a couple seconds later, I realized that he was standing right behind me. And I said, what's wrong? He said, something's wrong with the bandsaw. It's not broken, but it's going to need to be cleaned. I said, what the heck? He was pale. He was probably in shock. And when he picked up his hand to show me his hand, he had cut all the way through from here to here. It was probably the worst accident I've ever seen live. His thumb went like this.
And he was just calm.
He ended up with like 60 stitches. And
He was calm. He was in shock, and he just was pale and sweating. And
even
my
when we called
God.
the hospital and said, can we get an ambulance? They said, doesn't sound life-threatening. You could just get him in a car and drive him over here.
I was shocked when they said that,
Oh my God.
And turns out what had
because they'll
happened,
charge the family a ton of money, I guess. So they were just like,
Mm,
probably don't have health insurance. It's going to cost the family $3,000.
Jeez.
was the night, because who's going to cut through their whole hand? You'd have to come to class and say, all right, everybody, today I'm going to cut through my whole hand. All right, we're going to stand right in front
I
of
was
the
saying, like, if you ever touch a hot stove by mistake, whoa, you
Yep.
pull your hand right back. And on a bandsaw, I had never seen, even a little benchtop bandsaw, one or two times somebody nicked their finger and had to get
Yeah.
one stitch.
Oh my
Because
God.
as soon as you got nicked, you pull your hand back. So I'm saying
Yeah.
to myself, I didn't see this accident, but how did this kid cut through all that part of his hand
Yeah.
and not pull his hand back, right? So
saw here. If I pass out from the pain, just push. 3, 2, do we go on 1 or 2? Just push. Ah! That would never happen. If you touch a hot stove, right? As soon as you touch, whoa! Something must have been going on. Well, I found out right before he walked into class, he was told that his girlfriend had cheated on him. And it was
Oh.
his first girlfriend. So during the lab, even though he was working at the machine, his mind was somewhere else. And that was kind of a negative story. You could be going to Disney World tomorrow,
I'm going.
and you are so
I'm going.
excited about Disney World. You got pictures of Donald Duck all over your room, and all you could picture while you're in school today is you and Donald Duck walking around the Magic Kingdom, getting pictures together in front of the fountain. You're going to get it signed, put it above your bed. If you're distracted in a really good way, maybe you would think about not working that day or setting yourself aside from things where you're not going to be focused and concentrated. So the number 10 rule will be stay focused and have a positive attitude.
That's good.
So I imagine you'd have your own way, right, of expressing some of these ideas. to
Oh
the
yeah,
person.
but these
Right.
these are
And
really
I would,
good.
I would love, after you've done one a couple times,
Mhm.
you kind of like got your, when you do a lesson a bunch of times,
Yeah.
you finally get to where you like love it. Record you doing
All
this
right.
would like, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, like the elementary version.
Exactly. And there's probably other things
Just
maybe
in
that
time
would
for one more story.
go with
This was
elementary
kind of a
that
bonus.
I
Yeah.
never thought of.
But the baggy clothes is hard because really
When I was
that nothing fits them. everything is baggy on them. They're so little.
That's a good point. That's a
You
good
know,
point.
it's not a
Yeah,
fashion choice. It is just
right.
the way it is.
Interesting. I wonder if do you ever use smocks?
We do in the art room, they do. I
Right. There's
just
no
normally
reason in your
say,
room.
yeah, not really in mine. I always say, don't, if I need stuff painted, I'll work with the art teacher and they'll do it in there. But normally we don't really do the painting in my room. The painting, the art teacher's like, always like, oh yeah, you want me to have them paint this? And we bring their projects down there and they'll paint. But we don't really have, and even their smocks that I've seen them, they're their parents' shirts and they're down to their knees.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny because it's everything on them is big. And the
Interesting.
girls, they all want to wear the little cute dresses and the shoes, they're all they're funny that way. But I like
See, that'd
them.
be a thing for parent. Yeah, I wonder if that could be a thing to mention to
Yeah.
parents ahead of time. Tighter dress on those days.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to take notice of that more often because it's something I really didn't really think about at all. And I'm like, oh, this is something I have to really think about. The hair I've been noticing. And I'm like, what's going on with this hair? I'm like, oh my God, they're almost gluing their hair.
Ha!
So I've been
This is good.
noticing
This
the
is very
hair.
this is very practical for you today.
Yes, it really is. I'm like, this is right when I need it.
And one more thing I'm going to add
Yeah.
to your document, to our agenda doc, where you're going to use that to kind of create your own plan, is to mention that you've attended professional development in
Oh, yeah.
safety, right? That's another layer
Yep.
for you. All right,
That's
here we
good.
go.
7 years old. My little brother, 5 years my younger. You should see him now. He's got long hair down to here. He's like in incredible shape. He's a long distance runner. He went to West Point. He graduated or came out of the military as what was it?
Captain.
A captain. He was a captain. He's been to Afghanistan and Iraq. But we're going all the way back to the time when he was 2 years old and he was just a little baby who could barely walk and was still wearing diapers. My dad had just cut a big tree down and it was out front and there was a bunch of logs. And my dad was out, my mom was in the house, my brother was out front playing, and I'm sitting there looking at these logs. I know I was only 7 years old, but I'm looking at the logs and I'm thinking, that could be a coat rack for my parents' foyer. So I decided I'd get to work on this woodworking project. I went out and I grabbed this brand new, really sharp axe, and I started to hack off the bark.
Oh, no.
Because I got to get the bark off if I'm going to sand it and then stain it. What color am I going to stain it? I don't know. It's my own design. It's pretty cool. I can do anything I want. So I'm getting really into this. And I'm chopping the wood and I'm thinking, and my brother keeps walking over. Like this. And just as I was chopping, the bark's flying everywhere, these kids come down the street on these brand new bicycles, and one of them was doing a wheelie. He was like 9 years old. And I couldn't wait to figure out how to do a wheelie. And I was distracted, and I swung the axe one more time, and then I saw this thing fly out across my field of vision into my periphery. What was that? That didn't look like bark. My brother looks at me. He looks over there at that thing on the ground. He looks at me, and he looks at his hand. Screaming at the top of his lungs. He never took a breath. He just kept going. And I got scared, so I pretended it didn't happen. And I went back over and I kept chopping wood.
Oh, no.
And just then my mom comes outside of the house. What happened out here? What are you doing? I dropped the axe and I started to run. My mom picks up the axe. She's running around in a circle, running around the yard after me. We're going in circles and my brother's right in the middle like this.
Oh my God.
It was so loud, my neighbor, Mr. Ely, came outside of his house. What's going on, everybody? Everybody stop. Me and my mom stopped. My brother was in the middle going, ah! We get in the car. My mom says to me, go over there and do something with that finger. We got to go to the hospital. So I went over and I picked up the finger. I brought it into the house. It was like a little warm sausage. I could still move pieces of it around. Then I poured a glass of milk. I threw it in the milk. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do with a...
You're not.
That's a tooth that falls out, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I confused my health lessons that morning. Turns out if a tooth gets knocked out, you put that in a glass of milk. An appendage would go into a bag of ice to keep it cool, which sounds bizarre, but it makes sense because when you buy meat at the...
Yeah, you mentioned being kicked by a horse or something. Maybe you know
Yeah.
this already. When when you chop fingers off and you put them in a bag of ice, you got to wrap them in gauze first. Did you know that?
No.
So my neighbor, I've been doing this stuff my whole life, but I've never had that happen to me where somebody lost fingers.
Yeah.
But my neighbor cut a couple tips off in a lawnmower, and they put them on ice. I wasn't home when it happened.
Yeah.
They put them on ice and they took them to the hospital. And by the time they got to the hospital, the tips had freezer burn on to the
Oh
ice, and so
no.
they couldn't really use them. So you when you have you'll see in the next video, which we won't have time
Yeah.
to go through it all, but you can watch it. It's real straightforward.
Yeah.
You'll see there's a safety blanket on the wall, and that's just there. If there's a fire, you can
Yeah.
throw a blanket on it. Well, then you could have your a little some spot where you have bags and an idea of where do I go get ice in the building. I know this is not going to happen in your first grade, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the idea would be that
You never
you
know.
could say, oh yeah, you say, this is here, and we have gauze that we can wrap
Yeah.
it in, with the ice that way.
Wow.
But yeah.
The grocery store, you want to keep it fresh, you put it in the fridge, right? So I run back outside, I bring out the glass of milk, I hand it to my mom. What are you giving me a glass of milk for? I'm not thirsty right now. And I said, no, the fingers are there. And she said, what? You gonna put the finger in here? You put it in a bag of ice? What are you doing? I run back in the house, I dump the glass of milk out, there goes the finger, plop. I pick it up, now it's like really white and gray, and it's like stiff. I can't even bend it anymore. That's no fun. Put it in the bag of ice. We get back into the car on our way to the hospital. My brother's just giving me one of these in the back seat. Hand all wrapped up in paper towels. Ah! In my ear. So I take his head and I roll the window down just enough to get his head out of it, and I roll the window back up. Perfect siren. All people could hear from the side of the road.
Oh my God.
Cars are pulling over for us. They thought there was an ambulance behind them. So we finally get home. We finally get to the hospital. My mom sends me in. I bust through the doors, and all these nurses are standing there going, "Can we help you? What's wrong?" I said, "My brother will be right in. He has a scratch on his finger."
A scratch.
She said, "Here, fill out this insurance paperwork." And and I'm 7 years old. I can't even write in cursive yet. So I sit down and I start to draw my coat rack. Just then, my mom comes through with my brother. Perfect timing. He's hanging from her arm. Ah! She's holding him. They go back. They come out an hour later from the emergency room. Finger reattached. A little bit crooked,
Wow.
but they got it mostly right. Turns out, because the axe was so sharp and he was so young, the cut was such a clean cut, as opposed to being like a jagged cut, that they could wrap leeches around the finger where it was detached. And the leeches would get the blood flowing again back through those parts of the finger.
Oh, ew.
And I think he learned a very valuable lesson that day.
You're your brother.
Right, don't go near people with axes. No, but actually, I did want to point that part out about when someone does get a cut. In fact, we've seen people have their whole arms reattached now, especially if they're younger or if they're older and they're in really good shape. I hope you enjoyed these stories today. The stories may be gross, but they're important. Hold on, hands free, eyes on me. They're important because they're memorable. And we can learn from the different mistakes that I made and that other people made in some of these stories. Of course, many of these stories took place in environments that were more complicated than this, with more tools and machines. But like I said, even a hot glue gun can be dangerous in this setting. Nice job with the 10 points of personal safety.
That's really good. I could totally
Thanks.
use that. I like that to start it off. That's really good.
Oops. Oops.
Yeah, that's really good.
Okay, so let's see what we'll look at here next. All right, now in the razor safety video, we're not going to
Yeah.
worry about that one, right? But the lab safety part 1 and part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just open those up and show a couple
Yeah.
segments, and so that you could watch them on your own time. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. All right. So this was a room that was an old computer. It's the same room where this other lessons
Mhm.
were. This is a room that was a computer lab and had a bunch of computer tables. They wanted to put whiteboard on the tabletops. I didn't agree, but um, because it stains over time and all that.
Yeah.
But the rest of the room has like some of these basic features that I outfitted the room with. Let me share my screen. Sorry.
Mhm.
So, one, let's do- All right, you can see that.
Yeah.
So there's like safety glasses cabinet there.
Yeah.
The slop sink feature is nice, right? The big
Mhm.
wide one, like the laundry room one. Trash can on wheels.
Yep.
The fire extinguisher in the room, obviously.
Yeah. That I do have too. That was they made it mandatory in my room.
Okay, yeah, yeah. There should be one in every
Yeah.
room. And let's see here.
Or you're sitting at your desk, or you're up there washing your hands. The whole time we're in the room, we'll leave glasses on.
So this gets into expectations about this
Yeah.
isn't the class. So now we're in work mode. What's the difference? And so we get into this tours the room and shows some of the features of the lab, and then talks about how you got this parts at your desk where you sit and work, and then you've got these stations you come up to. And when you come up to these
Mm.
stations, there's the safe zones, and there's these. I go over the rules that I go over in these two videos are the rules that are in the big general middle school safety test.
Got it.
It's in the safety folders. The safety folders also have like individual tool and machine quizzes and
Okay.
tests, and those are things that whether you have a bunch of little tests or whatever, but um, and so we go around the room, look at these things, identify them, and then we talk about about how to act and then how to act in emergencies. And I go over a
Mhm.
couple emergency rules, and then it gets into the next part of the lab video part 2, where um, there's a battery powered drill, like the tools we go over, battery
Okay.
powered drill like this. Now
Yep.
the slideshow has these items in the slideshow.
Okay.
So I like a battery powered drill with like a little 9-volt or 12-volt. So because these are way less powerful than a corded drill.
Got it.
And so I feel safe having this ring, even if a kid picked it up and hit the trigger behind my back, it's not like one that's on a cord.
Yeah.
I also have a handheld twist drill.
Okay. Yep.
Fiskars makes them, and they
Yep.
come with a couple little bits. They're fantastic.
Yeah. That's actually that's pretty good. Yeah.
Fantastic. And if it's a soft piece of wood, the kid can even put it into, or I can put this into the
Yeah.
tape on the table in front of them, chuck it up or put it in the vise, and the kid can use their awl to make like a little
Yeah.
divot in something, and then they can put the drill bit on top and hand crank
Yeah.
drill.
Good idea.
Then I show the junior hacksaw, like a 10-inch wide junior hacksaw,
Yeah.
with like 8 or there's even 6 or 7-inch ones. And in this classroom, we had foam core,
Okay.
presentation board,
Yep.
cardboard, some wooden dowel rod up to like a half an inch thick,
Yeah.
and square stock
Okay.
strips of like balsa wood is real
Okay.
soft, but they also have
Yep.
strips of like basswood, which is harder, and like up to a half-inch square strips that were long. And so if they were going to cut something, they were taught that first you measure, then you mark the material,
hmm
and then you can go up to make a cut.
Got it.
And so it's always measure, mark, and cut. And I get into picking up a piece of material, and if you're going to cut a circle out of this big sheet of cardboard, you don't cut it
Yeah.
out of the center. You go up to the corner and cut it out to save material. I talk about where to put scrap, and then
Yeah.
I go over the hot wire styrofoam cutter, which you could buy hand wands. They're really a
Okay.
novelty. They're good for shaping foam, and then you
hmm
can sand the foam after that. And then you can
Okay.
paint the foam and make models.
Mm,
But I would see you having that as a resource, or as maybe some project had a dedicated thing with that for the experience.
yeah,
But I don't know that it would be a tool that you would add to um, because it's really just like modeling and shaping stuff with foam. It
yeah.
makes a big mess.
Okay.
And when you do the hot wire styrofoam cutter, you gotta have like a portable air filter unit set up behind you, like a
Mm,
$100 one from Walmart
yeah,
with the HEPA filter pad in it.
got it.
But that you'll see that in the video. The junior hacksaw, how to cut something inside the vise, how to measure and mark material, and then um, a scroll saw. You
Okay.
familiar with those?
No.
You know it's a little machine that has like just a 4-inch blade that's real thin, and the blade
Okay.
goes up and down like this.
Oh, yes, I know what you're talking about.
You
Yes.
you can hold a jigsaw in your hand and like cut out plywood circles,
Yes.
but there's a stationary one called a scroll saw,
Okay.
right? And so the arm just goes up and down like this, and you can push material through it.
Got
In the
it.
mall, the guy who makes wooden keychains with your name,
Yes.
real intricate, he's got one of them there, and he's like doing
Mm-hmm.
little curve cuts. So we don't cut plywood. There's none of that in the room.
Yeah.
But foam core and cardboard can go through this, and I've used them
Oh,
down with fourth grade. And
okay.
it may just be something where, oh, we're making race cars, and
Yeah.
everybody has this block of wood, and I'm going to let you cut the block to length with one cut, and I'm going to let you cut the back, and that's all you're going to go up there for.
Yeah.
But it was a
Yeah,
chance
that
to
would be
work it
good.
into the activity.
Okay.
Um, and so you see a demonstration on that. And so this would be like the demonstration lesson for the tool, but then I would bring them back up for a guided practice.
Okay.
And again, I told you what guided practice looks like, where you
Yeah.
stand in line like you're in class, you come up, you show me. What I might do is, like, if there's something for the project that everyone has to make or every team needs, and we're all gonna have to make it anyway,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that there's no design to it,
Yeah.
like everyone's gonna need a 6-inch piece of this cut.
Yeah.
I may say, okay, now you're now in groups, you're gonna do this now. And I'm standing here watching, where I
Yeah.
run it in some stations. And I'm literally stopping them every 3 seconds. Yep,
Mm-hmm.
you're in the safety zone. Stop. Everyone stop. You're in the safe zone. Back up. Jim, your hair's not tied back.
Yeah.
Okay. No, you went up to the machine and you didn't look at it first. You just went and turned it on. You just stop and
Yeah.
look at it? Did you? Okay. And I do this to like reinforce good behaviors and stop bad ones. And I might do that
Yes.
for like a couple minutes, not for the whole time, right? Limit
Yeah.
the amount of time we're on there. Limit the amount of time. So I'm training them and conditioning them, and they're getting used to how I'm talking in the room when everything's going on.
Exactly.
And do you ever find it, if you whisper to kids during cleanup, go clean up? Now
Oh,
your turn,
yeah.
go
Then
clean
it
up.
gets lower.
It gets better than when I'm like, everybody clean up.
Yes.
Nobody's doing this, nobody's doing that. You
Yeah.
need to go. And with cleanup jobs, I like you seem to have a great cleanup already.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would always treat it like social capital. Like, I can't pay you to do what I want you to do in my room,
Yeah.
but picking your cleanup job, your partners, or what music we're listening to, that's going to be currency in my classroom for
Yeah.
doing the right thing. So that I think that if you watch the two-parter,
Okay.
you'll get a lot. You'll get a
Yes.
lot from it, and you'll see the things that would make sense for your room and the stuff
Yeah.
that doesn't.
Okay. And this is middle school, is that right? This is like
5th grade.
fifth graders. Yes. Because I was gonna say, they don't look like sixth grade. Yeah. So it's fifth graders. God, there's so much I want to do.
And I think I'm gonna well, we could catch up about that
Mhm.
afterward. Remind me, a couple things we wanted to catch up with
Yeah.
after we stop. Okay, so back to let's go back to the agenda. Let me think what I want to look at here. All right, so maybe we should go into the shared folder.
Mhm.
So let's go into shared drives, number 2, Makerspace folder. Let's click
Got
on
it.
that. All right, so when you're in this giant, this is actually part of an even bigger folder.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever gave you a link. Did I ever give you a link to that?
I don't remember. We spent a whole day going through all of your resources.
Okay, can I give you a
That
link
was
to
fun.
this to my to this giant folder? So this is not related
Absolutely.
to the workshop.
Yep.
Um,
That's really good to the rubric.
all right, in this chat box, I'm putting a link to the parent folder. It's called Design Thinking and Problem-Based Learning 2021. This is a place where I've tried to archive like almost like most of the resources I have under
Mhm.
some major categories. And so it's like gigantic, but um, just click on that in the chat and just so you have it open, so you know, I know that you got into it.
Let's see here. Oh, here it is. Got it.
All right, so the point I'm
Yep.
making here is that
Wow.
this subfolder that we're looking in now, the
Yeah.
Makerspace subfolder, is a subfolder of this larger
Yeah. Look at all
folder.
that.
All right, I'm just gonna turn my camera off for a second.
Yeah.
My wife just got home for lunch. Back and forth. All right, so we're looking in Makerspace folder, right?
Tell her I said hi. See, she
I
remembers
will.
my kids.
I will.
Kyle, I think he was the tricky one.
Heh. Well, now I'm the tricky one in our life, so
Yeah.
anybody else who was ever tricky before was pales in comparison. All right, so in this folder we have, you see Makerspace STEM Lab examples,
Yep.
safety, artifacts, shared supplies and materials.
You got it. Yeah.
So the Makerspace STEM Lab folder is full of videos and pictures from different school districts. And so you'll see a variety of difference from one district to the next, but you'll also almost always see all these common items that are referred to in the safety lab part 1 and part 2 video.
Okay.
So even though some of these spaces are extravagant and have crazy stuff in them, they all boil down to the same beginnings when it comes to the equipment in the room and how we treat safety.
Cool.
So we don't have to open these all up, but Wyckoff is the room that the demo lessons were shot in.
Okay.
These are a lot of these are North Jersey. Allendale is another really cool lab that has lots of neat stuff in it. If to get a sense of what it could look like if you spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
And same thing with, I'm sorry, the Wyckoff folder is another one where they spent a lot of money.
Okay.
Closter, Closter, that's the school that the videos are being shot in.
Okay.
All right, Edgewater
Yes.
is like stripped down, like they just had a corner of a science room to put some stuff in so that you could see where, but it's still the same tools and equipment. Okay.
Yeah, that's nice.
All right,
Jesus.
so I'm going to back out of this folder, and now we're back in the Makerspace general folder. Before we go into the safety folder, right? Let's look in supplies and materials and see if there's anything in there.
Yeah.
All right, there's a copy of recyclables donation list. I would often ask for donations.
Yeah.
And half the stuff I would get would be trash anyway. It would just have to get thrown right back out, but it was always worth it to me. I was a hoarder.
I
We don't have as much room though.
I know. I had to limit myself. People give me stuff all the time. They're like, I thought you might like this. I'm like, oh my God, I love it, but where am I gonna put it?
Nice.
It's like crazy.
In the modeling with cardboard folder, it's just two pictures of a poster I made with a teacher where we show a couple different shapes you can make for when you're making structures with cardboard.
Yeah.
We're getting into makers, like we kind of crossed into Makerspace stuff here too, but that's all that was in that Makerspace materials.
Yeah, I've seen
So
that
if we go back one and go into safety artifacts shared folder.
Okay, let me go in there. My computer's getting slow. You open more than 3 tabs and then it goes down.
In here, these are a bunch of people I work with in the past, and they're artifacts that they created for the Maker Safety certification course
Yeah.
when it was a 1 credit class. And so there were like 12 different artifacts that you could possibly create in the course, but you had to pick from a list of like 8 or 9, and you had to create your own version of the artifact, and then we called it your portfolio, your safety
Mhm.
portfolio for that course. So the each of these are different students, and you can see the artifacts they created. So that could be their own versions of safety posters, or their own versions of a curriculum rationale, or their own
Yeah.
version of a test or a quiz. So this is really a trove.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're interested in the Makerspace program, but it's like that. It's very practical, and the class is what we create. You know, I'm one of the instructors. I wrote the safety course.
Yeah. Is
Um,
that through, that's, did I
it's
see
through
that?
Rutgers. It's Rutgers Graduate School,
Oh, yes.
and it's you know, we do the 4 courses will occur over the course of a year. There's a design thinking class
Yeah.
that'll be first, and then it'll be maker mindset, and then which is kind of like putting you in the chair of the student, and then maker environments and facilities, and that's about curriculum and from the teacher's perspective. And then there's the safety course, which we're making a 3-credit course instead of a 1 credit,
Mhm.
but you could take the 1 credit option. That's what we're going to offer. And then the final is a capstone where you kind of create whatever you want for your own makerspace, or create something that you wanted to
Yeah. And
scratch your
that's
own
for a
itches.
certificate, right?
It's a certificate, and the
Yeah.
way it's going is that it's not an endorsement. So there's no makerspace educator teacher endorsement like
Yeah.
license. But what the communication is with the state is they're hopeful that they could start to recognize this cert as an endorsement
Yeah.
down the line because of the shift that's going on in education. But
Yes.
districts will definitely see this as something that uh, gives you that the ability to teach in there, and that they know you're, you know, not going to be negligent, I guess. 'Cause like I
Exactly.
said, there's no rule about who can teach what in what classroom in terms of safety. There's just a
Mhm.
rule about if what teacher license you have, and whether or not they can give you, whether or not you can be the one teaching and awarding credit in that area,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
anyway,
I know I
um,
was actually talking to the office to talk about getting a certificate in STEM. Um, and I was looking at that, and I was looking at the Rutgers one, and then it's this other one through NASA.
oh yeah,
Um, God, is in Endeavor. I think that's what it's called.
okay,
And I was looking at that. I just have to decide when I have time.
yeah,
That's
it's
that's
something
what
to
I'm saying.
consider. I think a lot of people who are taking it are they're really just excited to get the extra credits on their paycheck, you know.
Yes, well, that's true.
That's
That is true because I am so close to Masters plus 30, and I'm
right.
like, come on. So that's part of the goal. That's one part of it. But the thought of just having that certificate, um, it just,
Just we'll keep moving, but keep in the back of your mind, because what we'd like, I would love to get us into a consortium with like a whole district where the
Yeah.
district got paid for 10 teachers to be a part of the program or take
My
certain
God, that would be
classes,
awesome.
and then we could have a discounted type of
Yeah,
rate or find grant money to pay for it. So just keep that
yeah,
in the back of your mind,
yeah. I'll
and I
talk
will
to the
too
other.
for next time
Yeah,
I speak to Christine.
yeah, that'd be
All right.
awesome.
So back into the main Makerspace folder,
Mhm.
and we're gonna look at it's in the safety folder now.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 10 points of personal safety has nothing in it.
I love all these. The
And
post.
I'm gonna slide 2 posters of stick figures. You keep looking around. Let me put
Yeah,
let me put what I have in here.
I love all those posters. Oh, let you see. Okay. Well, okay, I don't have to worry about too much. It's first. I love my first graders. They're making me push them a little bit.
I'm sure everybody's behind
Oh,
in
yeah,
so many
but they
ways
are
right now.
so good.
Oh, that's good.
They are a really, really good first grade. And I feel like, yeah, we are behind, but I feel like with them, it's the group I feel like I'm starting with. and then we'll see it again in 5 years. Like everybody, we always were like, okay, we're gonna start with them, and then we had interruptions, so you didn't get the full picture. So I feel like I have a good foundation with them here. That's really good. Two is the one grade 2 is the mess. Oh, God. I feel like I do need to have a legal document with them. I think they need to like, oh my God. That group.
Well, the fact you could team up with with the librarian is really awesome. That's
Yeah.
great. 'Cause
Well,
I don't know how you would-
I'm so lucky. She puts up with me and my crazy thoughts, and that allows me to expand my space. I don't want to be, it is somewhat selfish, because I was thinking, I'm like, it does help me to expand my storage area, but she is so open to everything, and so it's great. And all the books that I want to have ordered, like I open a lot of you know, stories on there, especially for the younger ones. She orders everything for me, so I don't have to worry about it. She's awesome.
Okay. So I'm trying to find I just had like a poster of Shaggy from Scooby Doo, and that's what
Yeah.
people would write the 10 points onto.
Oh yeah, that's a
Um,
good one.
but in the big PowerPoint, right, that's linked up
Yeah,
there that we haven't even looked through yet,
yeah,
there are slides dedicated to these categories. So
okay,
there's safety rules, tools,
yeah,
different things for cleanup procedures, and then stuff that you don't necessarily need at the moment, like safety with printers and laser cutters and
yeah.
stuff like that. Anyway, all right,
I
so
would
let's
love the
see what's
laser printers. I was looking at that, but I just don't, I don't, I know I don't have the space for that.
the elementary safety one you open that's by grade level.
Yeah,
That's probably pretty much the same document in each one, but that's from curriculum, and it might even be from EIE. I'm not sure.
okay.
But
Another
it's
safety
because
company.
the rules may be slightly different for grade levels based on what they were doing in their
Yeah,
curriculum. So what are we at now? Which safety contracts folder?
yeah, I was looking at the high school student safety contract.
hmm
Yeah, I totally need that.
So these should be pretty much the same kind of language in each one.
Yeah,
Spanish version is there.
gives me a good place to get started.
Do you guys have much of an ELA or ELL population?
Not too much in my building. I would think the other buildings might need it, but not too much in my building.
Gotcha. All right. We're not worried about textbooks. Summative written safety assessments. Let's see what's in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this one sounds good.
So these are 4 versions pretty much of the same things here as Word docs. They start off with some true false, yes or no, and then some fill in the blanks and some multiple choice.
That's
And
good.
these will be totally analogous to the stuff that's in the safety lab part 1 and part 2 video
Mhm.
and the stuff in the slideshow.
So
Okay.
good.
Let me back out of here. You'll see again the rules that you'll read. They'll be straightforward, and you'll see a couple that maybe you hadn't thought of.
Yeah,
Um,
this is all good stuff.
what else? Safety slideshows has a couple PowerPoints. Really, just
Mhm.
the first one and the third one might be cool. The second one, ITEA facilities guide, that's like a massive
Yeah,
document. Let's back out of here. How about safety rules? So these would correspond with the test,
yeah,
right? So I've got
it's
the
good.
rules written out, and so I would the first one that says general or copy of general safety rules, that might be a
Mhm.
that I think I converted into a poster that's in the signs and posters folder.
Okay. This is really good.
Oh, okay. The 10 points of personal safety. There's posters in there. I don't think they're in .ai. I don't think you have Adobe Illustrator on your computer.
No.
It's just a picture of Shaggy. It's not
Yeah,
even a
that's right.
non sequitur. All right. Back out
Do not
into.
put, do not carry tools in your pockets. I feel like at the end of my class, we have to empty out everybody's pockets.
Yeah.
They all want to take pieces of the lab with them.
Ugh.
And I have teachers coming back and, they're always handing me pieces and parts back. And they're like, oh, Johnny took this, he wanted to take it home. I'm like, oh my God.
That's too
It's
much.
too funny.
Safety, secondary, written, tool and machine tests. Let's open that one up.
The copy that, you know what, this is so good, the tools sign out. So that's what I've been noticing too, especially this year. I've been having not only the kids, it's mostly these teachers that are taking my stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
I need something.
Need to label this stuff. They need to leave it.
Yeah.
They need to leave a shoe with you,
Yeah. I'm like, come
right?
on. Somebody took one of my glue guns. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, come on. So
We see the hot glue gun on here somewhere.
I see craft knife soldering. That was the other thing I was thinking, but I don't think we're ready for that yet.
Let me drop the hot glue gun one in there. I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see a hot glue. I see craft. Oh, I see craft knife and glue gun. I think it is. I think they're two.
They're together.
Yeah,
Okay, so there's one thing I would add to the glue gun one that I don't think
yeah.
is on there. If you're going to be a welder, they make you in your welding tests, they give you pipes and sheets of metal and they have you practice or demonstrate that you can weld straight lines and weld curves,
Oh, okay.
right? And that you have a perfect bead when you do it.
Yeah,
And so imagine a piece of paper and we put a big black straight line on there in Microsoft Word, and then a
Mhm.
couple inches down we put a curved line, and
Got
then a
it.
couple inches down we put a dotted line.
Got it.
All right, now
That's a
that's a
good
template.
idea.
Now the kids have to come up and they have to demonstrate just letting the right amount of glue out and staying on the line.
Yeah,
I mean, this is extra time, but if I had my druthers, this would be the extent I could, if I could have all the time where I would take them to this level so that I'm going to keep getting them each year after that, right? So you seem to be concerned with that, building them up, building their
yeah.
skills up, so they're just easier to work with each year.
Well, also
Um,
that's like that fine motor, and control.
They
So
lack manual dexterity, right?
yes,
Little kids don't have video games controllers. They don't use
yeah,
smaller controllers. They need a bigger controller.
yeah. I like that. I like that idea a lot. Because that would just show me that they're in control of the gun. They're not like all over the place. So that would be really good.
There's another sub-layer to a layer of safety.
Yep,
Okay.
I love it.
Back out of here. I don't know what's in secondary safety. It's got more safety tests.
Really good stuff here.
How about signage? Where's that at?
Oh, I saw that.
Where is it?
Where did I see that?
Safety posters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So these are right off online. I just did a search and
Yeah.
I found these. I like the colors, and so they're each on a 8.5 by 11 paper. You could print it out, laminate it.
Yeah. This is perfect.
10 points and the class safety rules on the Word document there. Another thing people will, and so if you go into some of those other teachers' folders with the artifacts that
Yeah.
they had made, you'll see all kinds of stuff that they
Yeah,
had
this-
created.
Awesome. I mean, there's so many good things here.
Now, when it
Oh.
comes to being the teacher in the room at the beginning of the safety slideshow,
Mhm.
let's open that safety slideshow up.
Yeah.
Let's go there next, because we're going to get you out early.
So many good stuff here.
Um,
I'm on computer.
There is a document here on how to fill out an accident report back in the safety folder.
Yeah, I saw that too.
It's just me, when something happens, you just, you're supposed to go right down in the office, document it, and you're supposed to be objective
Okay.
in the, right? Like,
Hmm.
it's not about what I feel or what I thought
It's
or
just
what I
what happened.
think, which is what happened,
Hmm.
right? And so that's, if you, when you put that document out there, that's now going to be, something that can be subpoenaed and would be in a court.
Hmm.
And so, with all things, I guess less is more. You'd be specific about what you are, like, I guess, just being objective.
Yeah.
And this is a good example of it, but, um, but that's what you would want to be able to show, is that immediately after the incident, you told your supervisor, you filled out an incident report. If the district doesn't, they should have a policy where they have them on file, obviously, like blank copies of them you fill out, because they happen all the time. Kid gets hurt in a playground, whatever, just incident report. But
Mhm.
the due diligence is to show that you did that. You did the report. It's not about the report having all your, being 10 pages
Yeah,
long. It's just, I filled one out. I
this is
stated
great.
what I think happened. Yeah. Like, you don't know how the student cut themselves or
Hmm.
burned themselves. They said it was the hot glue gun. Another student said it was the hot glue gun. And students said they saw this, you know.
This is great. Yeah, there's so much we
All
need
right.
to
Are
do.
you in the slide? Are you in the slideshow?
Yeah.
Let me open my own copy up. So if we go to slide 5, the term is in loco parentis. And that's the thing. That's the overarching rule for
Hmm.
teachers, where there's not an exact law, regulation
Yeah.
or something from the state that says something, but it's just, or it's like you're the parent when the parent's not in the room.
Yep.
So are you taking responsibility for the child like a parent would? Um, the difference between negligence and gross negligence.
Mhm.
Negligence is a mistake. I didn't, gross
Yeah.
negligence is I knowingly did something
Yeah.
that I knew was putting them in jeopardy. Um, we talked about the things on slide 6 that what would be due diligence. And so we've got establishing the safe environment, having safety instruction assessment written into a curriculum,
Yeah.
communications with parents and staff, like the contract, um, the written safety plan, whatever that means. Like, I've got it. It's just everything you'd have
Yeah.
in there. Um,
And I
more
see here
due,
you say keeping the records. So no digital records. Okay, so keep the hard copies. I gotta store them down there where I do my tests. That'll be good.
yeah, you could spit to an Excel spreadsheet and just print it all out.
Yeah, because normally when I do testing for, I also teach gifted, so, and
Mhm.
we have to keep all those tests. They can store them with all them.
Next slide, slide 7. Let's see if there's anything here we didn't go over yet. We got the first impression of the room is that what the room
Mhm.
speaks for itself without you being in there. So what's the room say about you? It's got signs
Yeah.
hanging up, it's organized, it's clean. The room stays locked when I'm not there. You don't have the emergency shut off. You don't have the eye wash or chemical cabinet. If someone keeps a chemical cabinet in their room,
Yeah.
even if it's a little one that just holds 4 gallons of paint,
Okay.
you're supposed to have a little sheet called an MSDS sheet.
Hmm.
Your maintenance department will have them, so will your
Okay.
science teachers for whatever's in their
Okay.
cabinet. It's just a sheet that says what's in my cabinet.
Got it.
And if they ever come and inspect, that's something they would look for.
Okay.
I've never had anyone ask to see them, but an exhaust hood is something you don't have. A science
Yeah.
room sometimes has them. It's like its own little
Yeah.
ventilation booth. When someone sets up a laser cutter,
Yeah.
they either have its own separate ventilation, or they vent it right into the classroom, but through a filter that will
Yeah,
filter it out.
I know. I was looking at those. I was like, oh,
We've
I have
got,
to, it's crazy. So much stuff, so much good stuff out there.
well, we're only going to go another 10 minutes here. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that all right with you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Um, next column underneath the hard hat guy there,
Yeah.
we talked about safe zones, marking the floor with tape
Yeah. I
to,
really need to do that.
and 3 feet, one student gets 3 foot by 3 foot. That's a box that makes 9 square feet, right?
Mhm.
Um, you could also mark the, if you're going crazy, you could label all your tools with the names of them and then put the name in Spanish as well,
Mm.
as well. Um, but I'm thinking in the classroom in the future, there's going to be augmented reality so that when
I
you're holding
know.
your iPad, you could put the iPad over the tool and it will read
Mhm.
the QR code and it will start showing them the tools, stuff about the tool.
Yeah.
Um, lighting has got to be good in the room. So we could see it's an argument if you don't need better lighting, they're not replacing it. Now you need it.
Yeah.
Air quality and ventilation, that you have your cleanup procedures. The idea of nobody's working when it's cleanup time. The teacher is visible and there's interactions with students. Obviously, you're in their faces constantly. But in my
Yeah.
room with older kids, I can't just let them go 45 minutes out hearing my voice. Like every 5 minutes, they need to hear me in the background. And
Exactly.
in a room where there is a lot of noise, you notice the noises that don't belong right away, even though it's
Mhm.
loud and you know. And the internal safety audit.
Yeah.
As you get more stuff in your room, what the district can do is they can say, we pay for an insurance umbrella, and they probably are in it with other districts. And what the districts do to save them the cost of litigation in the
Mhm.
future is they'll pay, or it'll be part of their insurance plan to have a private auditor
Mm.
come in and perform an audit of your labs and spaces. And
Mm.
so this person comes in, creates a private report just for your superintendent and buildings person and says, here's the things that you guys you should really do or fix or put in place.
Yeah.
And so it's a free service. It's built into insurance, and if they're going to want to spend money or see if we're doing something,
Yeah.
they should know they can take advantage of that.
Mm.
You ever had the firemen from town come out and do like the right to know training every 5 years?
I think so. I think we've had that, or they put it up there for us and we're like, we're supposed to watch it.
Yeah, it's like the same folks
Yeah.
that come out and do that other thing. All right, so down slide 8,
Hmm.
we mentioned you having
Yeah.
some curriculum that just mentions the things that
Gotta get that
are
in there.
being addressed. Yeah. I mean, we're just talking about a one
Yeah.
page document.
Yeah.
How do I communicate? I publish curriculum. I have a safety contract. I document and report things to the central office. I
Yeah.
contact parents, guardians if there's an injury or there's conduct that's unbecoming of the student.
Hmm.
All right. Slide 10. What could be in your written safety plan? And
Yeah.
this is just something in a big folder that you can hand over if it's ever asked for,
Yeah.
All right, slide 11, the accurate records we talked
Yeah.
about. Slide 12, this is me breaking
Yeah.
up best practices for pedagogy. And again, pedagogy, I think of
Yeah.
as curriculum, instruction, assessment.
This is great.
Multiple layers of safety on slide 13.
This is really good.
Slide 14 talks about safety contracts.
Hmm.
We're not going to go through all these slides, don't worry.
No, no, that's right.
In the personal safety section, we've got the 10 points of safety there.
It's great.
Some best practices recommendations for that lesson. You can click there to play the lesson.
Hmm.
Emergencies. This is not a teacher's responsibility. I mean, a Heimlich maneuver maybe, or,
Yeah.
put pressure on something. if you cut your hand, you hold your hand up above your head because the further you put the cut away from the heart, which is the
Yeah.
pump, right? Um, but in my safety scenarios, I just try to make kids imagine like the room in this total other circumstance because it could be jarring or people don't know what to do and somebody's unconscious on the ground, or there's a
Yeah.
fire or someone's yelling and we can't get them to stop. We don't know what's wrong with them. I don't know. But
Well, that's absolutely needed. I mean, it's even funny. A couple weeks ago, I almost fainted.
oh really?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. But I was like, oh my God, I felt it coming on. And I called the nurse. I said, I think somebody needs to come to my room. I think I'm gonna faint.
Good for
And
you.
yeah, so they came, and then they called the teacher and they told the teacher to come down to the room and take care of the kids and blah, blah, blah. And everything was fine. But when I came back to that class again, I said, I just wanted to, yeah, I was thanking the kids, because I could tell they knew something was going on, but they weren't sure. My face must have went like totally white. And then I
Yeah.
was like, just go to your tables because I felt like I was going to fall on them.
Oh my
But
gosh.
we talked about it and we said, what would have happened if I did faint? Like, what would you guys have done? And
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah,
Eh,
I'm like, what would you guys do? And they were like, we would have gotten the nurse. And the one kid goes, we would have ran around screaming our heads off.
oh my
So,
gosh.
but I was like, just things like little things like that could happen. And they need to know what to do, especially for my classrooms where I don't have another adult in there. They need to, and luckily we're close to the nurse's office, but they need to know, be able to know what to do.
Perfect. I said this recently to my college students. Most of them have never touched a hot glue gun in their life. In fact, didn't you hear me tell the story where they put the white Elmer's glue in the back of the hot glue gun, thinking
Oh my God.
they think the orange tip's supposed to fit in the back of the glue gun. So
Oh my God.
yeah. Well, I
Well,
was telling them,
it is amazing how much kids really don't have experience. A lot of the kids tell me we're not allowed to. I'm not allowed to use it. And it's like, oh God.
it means that
It's
the world is a mystery to them in
yes.
many ways. So um, I tell them about the story when I was in for their future safety, because if you're
Mhm.
ever in some horrible car accident, God forbid, and you were just talking 1 second, next second you come to and there's blood everywhere.
Yeah.
You're probably, if you haven't thought through this situation and you've never been in a bad accident like that where you came to and things weren't the same, um, you're going to remember this conversation we're having right now, and you're going to
Mhm.
remember that I told you that you could lose 9 pints of blood
Wow.
before you're going to be in danger.
Mhm.
Now imagine I filled up 9 whole glasses from the restaurant
Yeah.
and dumped them. That's a lot. People see a little bit of blood and they
Yeah.
think, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm dying." I got out of a pool when I was 5 years old, and it was a crappy like pool lip,
Yeah.
concrete edge. It was real jagged, and I slipped, and I thought I slit my wrist because both my wrists were bleeding when I
Oh
climbed out of the
no.
pool. And I was screaming to my mom, "Oh my God, I killed myself by mistake!" And I'm even like real careful now how I even say that type of thing in front of even high school
Yeah.
kids, because it's like real touchy to if I don't understand the room. Um, but I need you guys to know this, because if you're ever attacked or you're in an accident or something goes wrong with a tool, you're at home or you're on a jet ski and you have a limited amount of time to get yourself help, and
Yeah.
panicking is not going to help. So if you can see
Exactly.
tons of blood, just tell yourself, I'm going to be fine. Put pressure on it. A guy had both arms cut off in a combine accident
Oh
on a
my
farm
God.
like 15 years ago, and they connected both arms back,
Oh my God.
so you can live through stuff. Um, all right, back to the slides here. I was on 2021, not worried about a hemorrhage. Um, we've covered these, just front office type thing, posting your stuff up there.
Mhm.
Personal safety equipment.
Yeah.
We mentioned the glasses.
Yep. We got the goggles and
I
all
don't worry
set.
about I don't worry about masks and gloves unless I have kids using epoxy or paint. Um, down to slide 28 is where the safety videos are, part 1 and part 2. This goes over the personal, so I'm sorry, slide 30 goes over the lab rules and expectations. The
So I
safety
love that.
zones.
Yeah,
You can see the different versions of it, right? And then
yeah,
in the red one, you can see the
the
buffer zone
buffer.
plus the safety
Mhm.
zone. And that picture on there is, oh, those are scroll saws, the orange saws there on
Yeah,
the table. And
I
the
love
stationary
that.
equipment is just clamped to the table because I'm going to
Mhm.
move it at the end of the week anyway. But normally they'd be bolted to the tabletop.
Yeah, that is really good. I love the mat too. It does
You ever
get,
have them in the kitchen? They are great when you're standing on them for a long
yeah.
time.
I just think that again, like they get impressed by like these little, they feel like it's official.
Yeah,
And I
it
and I
looks real
really
official.
I really like that.
A
Yeah.
chemical cabinet on slide 34. They're just what makes them a chemical cabinet is that the metal wall of the
Mhm.
cabinet is an air pocket in it, so it's got what's called a firewall built into
Okay.
it. Whatever though,
Yeah.
glasses cabinet, eye wash. We even practice using the eye wash. Why not? Just lean over,
Yeah, I
push the
know.
paddle, because
Yep.
people don't know what it's going to do. Is it going to blow your eyeballs out
Yeah,
of your head, or
really. I know it is scary. And I remember those in high school too. And you were like, oh my gosh, what would I do if I had to actually use it? Well, why not use it?
yeah.
That is too funny.
Scroll down to slide 57.
Okay.
That's showing a scroll saw model.
We'll come back when I get the 3D printer. We'll
Yeah,
come,
keep going down to
yeah.
57.
Yeah, there's the all. Oh yeah, so I'm at the scroll saw.
You'll see in my video, like I
Yeah.
don't teach the hammer. I'm not
No.
teaching them how to hammer for anything. But those are scroll saws. You can see them bolted to the
Yeah.
table in slide 58. There's a nice metal pegboard you can hang on the walls called
Nice.
wall control. That's like indestructible. And there's
Okay.
the masonite on the surface of the tabletop.
That's so cool.
You can
And it
see the
doesn't
hot
take
wire
up a
star.
lot of space. It really does not take up a lot of space at all.
No. Slide 60. You can see a
Yeah.
hot wire in the hot wire
Yes.
cutter not the robot, but the one in the
Yeah.
blue piece of foam. The wire cuts through it like butter.
Hmm.
And I let the kids wear a leather glove when they hold their foam. So if they bump their hand into the wire, it doesn't burn the back of
Yeah.
their hand.
Leather
And then
gloves. That's a good
then you
idea.
can sand it down. You can glue it up into big blocks and scrape it away with sandpaper into a ball in a matter of minutes.
Mm.
There's another hot wire cutter with the girl using it. It's only for foam, but you could actually
Yeah.
cut plastic bottles with it. And we were doing hydroponics.
Oh,
And
that
I
would be
see.
really good. We're doing right now balloon powered cars. And
Hmm.
so they can choose bottles, cups, cardboard, whatever the material is, but a lot of them choose the bottles. And it's so hard to cut. That's really good for the
And
plastic.
it gives you like a clean edge that's not sharp either.
Yeah. Well, that's what they wind up taping all the edges because it pops the balloons.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's really cool.
I'm scrolling down. I'm looking to see if there's anything else on here.
I really like the portable bench vices. I'm like, that is so smart.
Yeah, they're probably $20 each.
Yeah. I mean, that would just be so much easier for them to put it in there. It holds it. They can do what they need to do. That's really
So
neat.
this is the PowerPoint that went with that safety course.
Yeah.
All right. So we've
Fire
covered everything here. We'll just look around.
that laser. That's really cool.
You can get one of them for just a couple grand,
I know.
even less, under $2,000 even.
I usually always apply for our grants. We have our what is it, Education Foundation grants, and they have them
Yeah.
every year. And the most I think I can get is 3,000. And usually I always put in my big ticket items there. That's where I got the hummingbirds this year.
Mhm.
And that was $3,000. So I always get it every year. So I'm like, I'm debating. I said, what can I get? I really want the 3D printer. We're headed that way. but maybe
3D printers are cool. To me, they're a novelty. Like unless you spend 5 or 6 grand on one or more, you're gonna
yes,
always be like trying to purge the line and like replace
yeah,
the the PLA material and level the bed out and like fix this part, and they're slow,
yeah,
and it's like you got to spend like 5 grand and get a
I
good one from
know,
the companies that have the service. But again, if it's something where your whole district wants to go for something across 5 schools,
exactly.
and we're saying this too, these labs are in the curricular rationale slide refers to this, one of the documents that are in the shared folder,
Mhm.
examples of them where people are writing up like these are the standards, standard 8.2, next gen science
Yes,
standards, and all these practices that the standards are based on are practices we have to be creating, making. And
yes,
so for us to do these standards justice, that's why we need to be able to have these things in the room, and that's why we have
yeah,
to teach safety.
that's great.
All right.
This
So
is so many, this is such good stuff.
I'm going to let you go.
Yeah, let me
I'm going to
explore
put my
more.
cell number at the top of the
Okay,
agenda right after my name.
got it.
And you text me anytime on the fly, question,
Perfect.
do you have something like this? Can you check this out for me?
Yep, awesome.
And I'm gonna, I put a copy of your certificate in the chat.
Got it.
Scroll up in the chat.
Okay.
Did you get that?
Let me check here. Oh, is that what this is right here? Let me see.
Says your name.
Yeah, I think I downloaded it. Let me see here. Yep, I got it.
Awesome. And so the last thing I'm gonna ask of you is at the top of the agenda is the
Yeah,
workshop evaluation link.
you got it.
You fill that out for me and submit it.
You got it.
And that's all she wrote, Maureen.
All right. Well, that was personalized attention.
It was really nice getting to know you some more today. I'm really
I
excited for you,
know.
and I wish I had kids in your classroom.
I'm telling you, I wish I had my stuff like me when I was in my classrooms when I was younger. I mean, I feel like we do fun things. And I want to do so much. It's just a matter of getting everything under, thinking it through, and like you're saying, have the rationale for it. Like I'm not one to like jump on things at the time. Like I need to find a purpose, and it has to be a reason for it. And that's what I was like when I saw the safety. I was like, oh my God, I totally need to do this because I need this like now.
Good.
And
Oh, that's great.
this will be the wholly written into the curriculum when we get together this summer. I'm going to tell them that we need to get something in place. I know for me, for the other schools, if they want to do it, that's fine. But for me, I have to get this in place because I just feel like I need to get that coverage there and make sure I'm doing it. So that's going to be my goal for next year. I'm going to be all taped up, signs all over the place.
Awesome.
It's going to be awesome. And then I'll feel so much better.
Yeah, and do a couple of your own elementary versions of the 10 points of safety, and
I
and then
will.
and
I'm
then
going to
either
play
film
around
it
with
or
it.
let me know so I can film it.
Got it. I will. I'm going to definitely play around with everything and get my take on it. But definitely this was so helpful.
Awesome.
I'm so excited for next year. I'm all ready to start, like, let's scrap this year and let's just start now.